Oh honey. Is the audio okay? Is the game too loud? Hello! Tiffany, welcome. Thanks for coming. It's been 1 week. It's been 2 weeks, I think, since I played this, and we're still in chapter 3. Last I recall, we were maybe dead. Not quite dead. Not dead, maybe dead. I always end up readjusting my scarf every week. But I also made some fun new accessories. I've got my, my Madi hairpins to complete the, cosplay look. And we made our first choice, and I'm feeling a little sketch about it, so I guess we'll find out. Oh, I think the chapter was already called that beforehand, but I hope we're not in the worst case scenario. Okay. Alright. I'm just gonna get started. Nope, first I'm gonna drink some water. Alright. By now, I've all but given up on being able to see Tara again, but I can't abandon the idea without at least trying to get through to her. She deserves to know that I'm okay. Are you? Or at least, okay. At least as okay as I can be, given the circumstances. At first, Abigail was hesitant about interacting with other people. I don't blame her. After 2 centuries of solitude, talking to 3 complete strangers within the course of a few days would be a pretty jarring shift. Despite that, she understands how important this is to me. She also warned me that we can't venture too far in the village itself. The magic of the forest only extends so far, and there's no telling what would happen to us if we went past it. The border of magic isn't clear-cut, so she made me promise to stay close to her. Just in case. I really am lucky to have someone as accommodating as her with me. Even if we fail, it means a lot that she's willing to try. I try to fill her in on what to expect from Tara and Morgan's personalities, doing my best to be as charitable as I can when telling her how likely Tara is to completely flip out when she sees a ghost. That's fair. Once she's fully prepared, we make our way to the cabin. It's empty. There's not a trace that anyone has been here in days. All of Tara's things are gone. That's an instant relief. It seems like a planned exit.
Did you find something, Madison?
I can't help flinching as Abigail floats through the wall next to me. Incorporeality is one of those things I haven't been able to get used to.
I think so. It seems like the 2 of them went back to the village.
I don't even entertain the idea that she went home early or anything like that. It's not in her nature.
Do you think so? That sounds like it would be dangerous. Why would they put themselves in danger like that?
I have no idea. Hopefully we can ask them ourselves.
Abigail starts to back away, looking down at the ground.
Madison, of course I'll do my best to help you. But I feel like it would be remiss of me if I didn't warn you to not get your hopes up. It took me years to be able to manifest myself. The chances of you being able to communicate with them so soon are low.
I kind of assumed the plan was to have Abigail communicate for Madi.
That's okay. I didn't have much hope to begin with.
I don't like being this dour about things, but I don't see how else I'm supposed to feel. She looks stricken by my words, and I hastily try to gloss it over.
I mean, hey, you never know. If you can do it, maybe I can come along with you. The 2 of us together are bound to be able to accomplish more than we could on our own.
Together.
She looks down, grabbing handfuls of her gown. She agreed to come with me before, but it seems like she's having second thoughts.
What's wrong?
It's just that accompanying you would mean returning to Eisenfeld again. I haven't returned since, well...
Oh no. I'd never even thought to ask about that. I've tried to avoid talking about her death as much as possible. Strange as it sounds, it feels like it would be rude in a way. Invasive. But I should have at least checked with her before suggesting we make our way there.
I'm sorry, Abigail. I didn't mean to...
To my surprise, she hurries back towards me and nearly bumps her head against mine as she closes the gap between us.
You don't have to apologize, Madison. I agreed to help you, and I'm going to honor that commitment. Besides, maybe it could be good for me. I can't avoid going back there forever. And having you there will make the burden of memory much easier to bear.
Her conviction combined with her invasion of my personal space makes my face flush red, and for a moment it looks like she's worried she upset me. I give her the best smile I can manage. After years of making Terra normal, I had hoped maybe a bit of Terra's charm and social skills would have rubbed off on me. They have not.
If you say so. As long as you don't feel like I'm forcing you or anything.
Not at all. You've been nothing but kind to me, Madison. I want to repay that kindness.
If anything, I still feel like I'm indebted to her for saving my life. But I know she wouldn't see it that way. I've done my best to be polite, but I haven't exactly made any grand gestures of thanks to her.
Thank you, Abigail. Really.
Of course. Now then, shall we?
Lead the way.
Every time Terra and I visited Eisenfeld, we were stared at everywhere we went. Now seeing everyone walk by Abigail and me without so much as a glance is surreal. Abigail gazes at the buildings as we pass by, occasionally pointing out ones she remembers from her time. Her voice is a strange mix of excitement and melancholy. I'm not sure if I should encourage her mood or try to comfort her. As we enter the town square, we start to encounter larger groups of people. Each time one passes close by, Abigail grabs onto my arm and moves closer to me. Is she scared of crowds, or is it something about the villagers themselves that has her shaking? I'm tempted to ask her, but I think better of it. For all I know, this fear could be connected to the way she died. Excuse me. My mind runs wild with possibilities. Maybe she was burned as a witch, or cast out of the village? This definitely isn't helping. I need to focus. Thankfully, it's not too long before we reach Morgan's house. I just hope they're here. And more importantly, I hope we can reach them.
Are you ready, Abigail?
I'm ready. Let's go.
We phase through the wall and into the kitchen. And there they are. Terra and Morgan sharing breakfast, close enough to touch. I'd give nearly anything to be able to hug them right now. My feelings are a mixture of guilt and elation, and worry. But more than anything, I'm glad she's okay, both her and Morgan. I need to talk to Terra. There's so much I need to say and ask.
Terra! Can you hear me?
Morgan, this is delicious. How the hell do you know how to make all this stuff?
Apparently she can't. She doesn't even look in my direction.
Most of it I picked up from older folks in the village. The rest I pieced together from random cooking videos.
When all this is said and done, remind me to give those channels a shout out in an episode, because this rules.
I try waving my hands in front of their faces, hoping that maybe movement will convey what my voice clearly can't. Once again, no reaction. Morgan leans toward Terra, passing right through my hand.
Maybe you'll learn enough while you're here to make a few cooking videos yourself.
Are you asking because you actually think that'd be good, or do you just want to see another video where I almost burned my house down?
Another? Morgan shrugs and gives Terra a small smirk. When Terra chuckles in response, I feel another surge of sadness. I knew I shouldn't have expected this to work right away, but I'm still crestfallen. Having them this close hurts in a way I couldn't have imagined. All the time I spent feeling ignored while I was alive seems so trivial compared to this.
So what's the plan for today? Got anywhere in town we might be able to hit up for local lore?
Most of the official records of town history are sealed up in Evelyn's office, so those are off the table. But we might have some luck checking out older buildings around town. She's done a good job of cleaning up evidence of what Eisenfeld used to be, but maybe you'll notice something I didn't.
Sure, I mean, it's worth a shot.
Her voice barely contains a trace of the fire I'm so used to. I have to hope that at least the remaining trace is a sign she'll regain the fire someday. At least she's not alone. Morgan reaches out and puts her hand on Tara's shoulder, squeezing gently. When she speaks, her words are soft and strained.
Are you going to be okay?
What do you mean?
After yesterday, if you need some time to rest, nobody's going to blame you.
Tara looks down for a moment, but when she looks up again, her eyes hold that same fire I saw so often back home.
I'm good. The sooner we get some clues, the sooner we can end this shit for good.
Are you sure?
100%. We got this.
I feel that urge to hug her again, even stronger than I did before. They don't have a shred of evidence to suggest I'm anything other than dead and gone, but she hasn't given up. I still don't feel any kind of power within me that I could use to manifest myself. Abigail's my only hope. I turn to her, trying to keep my voice level despite my desperation.
Abigail, do you think you can manifest? Even if I can't reach them, maybe you can.
Abigail nods, but she's frowning. My heart wasn't exactly soaring, but I can feel it sink even further.
I'll try, but whatever power I had that allowed me to appear to you has felt much weaker since I used it to save you.
Abigail closes her eyes and starts to lift higher off the ground. As I watch, I feel a strange feeling in the air around me. As if it's bending around her, being pulled aside so she can step through the border between our worlds. For a minute, it seems like it's actually working. I'm trying to figure out what exactly I'm going to say when I feel the energy in the air start to fade. Abigail seems to be struggling, furrowing her brow as she sways in the air. Her face scrunches and guilt stabs me like a knife. Is she in pain?
Abigail, stop. It's okay.
Maybe if I just try a little harder.
I reach out and gently take her hand, lowering her to the ground. She opens her eyes, breathing hard. As much as I want to see Tara, it's not worth making her feel like this.
It's okay. I promise. We can try again some other time.
Abigail gives a faint nod and stares down at her feet. Her hands ball into fists as her shoulders rise and fall.
I'm so sorry, Madison. I don't understand why this is happening.
There aren't any rulebooks for this sort of thing. I don't blame you for not knowing about things most people think are impossible to begin with.
The disappointment I'm feeling takes a backseat to concern for Abigail's well-being. I've already put her through a lot by making her come here in the first place.
We knew beforehand that this was a long shot. I'm just happy I got to see them again.
Are you sure?
I'm not, but I know that if I tell her that, she'll want to try again. It's better this way.
I'm sure. You've done more than enough by coming with me.
I look back to Tara and Morgan, taking what I praise in my final glance at them. To my surprise, Tara is leaning against Morgan's shoulder while Morgan's arm is wrapped around her back in a loose hug.
Thank you. As messed up as all this is, I'm glad that you're the one helping me get through it.
Tara's voice is soft, and it carries a vulnerability I don't think I've ever heard from her before.
Same here. We make a good team.
Oh. Tara raises her head to look at Morgan, their faces inches apart.
We should have a team name, like the Dream Team or something.
We'll work on it.
I already had a feeling that the two of them had something going on before all this happened. I'm not that surprised, if I'm being honest. Stuff like this has happened before with her. But it's always been a one-night stand or some kind of quick fling. Never the kind of thing that would merit real vulnerability. Then again, she's never been in a situation like this before. Maybe losing me brought out a part of her I never knew she had. As if in response to my thoughts, Morgan leans forward and kisses Tara. It's a lot more than a simple peck on the lips. This is something deeper. So deep, in fact, that I have to turn away. It seems wrong to spy on something that's so intimate. Next to me, Abigail has also turned away. Her face is a bright crimson, and her hands are close to her chest. I didn't stop to consider that this is the first act of intimacy she's seen in 2 centuries. For all I know, this could be the first time she's ever seen 2 women kiss.
You okay?
She looks up at me, slightly alarmed.
Yes. I'm okay. I just wasn't prepared for something like that.
Trust me, I wasn't either.
Abigail pauses for a moment, closing her eyes and taking a calming breath. A small smile crosses Abby's face as she blushes, her wide eyes softening.
It is nice though, isn't it? A love like that can give someone incredible strength.
Yeah, I'm happy for them.
I really am. Maybe this will help her cope better now that I'm gone.
But we should probably go. I feel really weird being here for this.
Of course. Maybe we can try this again another time.
Her words lack conviction, but she doesn't protest. I'll have to think of some ways to cheer her up once we get back to the church.
Hey, do you want to maybe...
The front door creaks open. All 4 of us freeze as we face the entrance. Evelyn stalks in and slams the door behind her. She doesn't say anything, but neither do Tara and Morgan. Tara's shaking, and Morgan places a protective arm in front of her as she glares at her mother. I shiver too, desperately wanting to look away, but feeling unable to. A part of me screams to do something, anything, to get her away from Morgan and Tara. Yet, there's a stronger part of me screaming, I need to leave, I need to get out of here. I feel just as frozen as the day I died. I feel Abigail on my arm, pulling me backwards. She pulls my body through the connecting wall, and only when Evelyn is out of my vision can I breathe again. Abigail presses against me, just as stunned as I am. I try to keep calm, telling myself that she doesn't even know we're here, that she can't hurt me anymore. Evelyn passes through the door and by the corner where Abigail and I are lurking. And she stops. Slowly, her head turns to look where we are, where there's otherwise just empty space. That's not right. That's right. She's so close that I can feel her face She's so close that I can see her face contort in recognition and shock.
Madison!
I jerk my head towards Abigail to see that she's already started to head for the wall, waving for me to follow her. It's enough to snap me out of my trance. I run to her, casting a backwards glance at Evelyn to make sure she isn't following us. She doesn't move, but her eyes track us as we run. Right before I pass through the wall, her mouth opens.
How?
I don't stick around to find out what she says next. Abigail and I run as fast as we can, phasing through buildings and people with reckless abandon. After what we just saw, all other fears feel inconsequential. Sorry, I don't know how to read. Okay. More water. By the time we're back in the forest, it's clear that Evelyn has no interest in pursuing us. For now, at least.
Madison, are you okay?
She puts her hand on my shoulder, pulling me close to her. My head throbs painfully and my breathing is shaky, but her touch grounds me.
I'm not sure. But I'm a lot better now that we have some distance between us and her.
I look backwards toward the village, half expecting her to come flying at us like some kind of demon. Oops.
She saw us, Abigail. How is that possible?
Abigail looks down at the ground, and I realize she's shaking as hard as I am.
I wish I knew. Madison, she said something to you before we left, didn't she?
Yeah. I didn't catch all of it, but I think I know what she was going to say. She looked shocked when she saw us. Confused, even. I think she didn't know about us being out here.
Abigail's voice is barely above a whisper when she speaks. Her face is drained of color.
But now she does.
That sucks. The message is clear. As long as Evelyn is in Eisenfeld, we can't be. I'm sorry, Tara. I'm sorry, Morgan. But it looks like you're on your own. Oh, we're Abby. That's fun. The midday sun sits high in the sky, setting everything aglitter. The vibrant music of the forest, the pitter-patter of dripping snow, the chitter-chatter of birds, and the accompanying breeze is especially loud today. The events of yesterday are a forgotten nightmare, and so today must be a dream come true. Madison stands with her back to me into the church, facing the forest. Her head is tilted back ever so slightly. For the first time, she looks truly at peace. For the briefest moment, she's framed by the sunlight. Then, perhaps sensing me watching, she turns around and smiles at me, and I can't help but smile back. Without a doubt, the past several days have been the happiest of my extraordinarily long existence.
Good morning. Did you sleep well?
Yeah, I did. It's getting a bit easier.
That's wonderful.
I know that isn't true, as she tossed and turned and sighed until early in the morning. I know, but I understand. Whatever it takes for her to feel more comfortable, more at home. I wish that I knew how to help. For me, sleep was the last thing on my mind after I passed. I explored endlessly, backtracking over and over again until I knew every step of these woods. I made the most of my situation as best as I could, and rather well if I do say so myself.
What would you like to do today?
Let's go back to that forest clearing. The one where the fairies live? I'd like to see it again.
My soul sings. That out of everywhere we've been, that would be the place she wants to return. I rush to her side, drawn to her presence like a magnet. Simply being near to her makes me happy. Part of my mind screams at me that I don't deserve it. Oh, baby. The same way that she doesn't deserve to be so miserable. Still, I put on my brightest smile as I touch her arm.
That sounds perfect. I'd like nothing better. Shall we go now?
Yeah, sure.
As is tradition, I lead the way out of the church and towards the forest. The trees and branches part invitingly, familiar and old. I ask the forest to take us to the clearing, and I can feel it ripple in response. Not physically, but in my heart. I know that the forest is listening. It's difficult to explain. So much of this existence has become habit and routine for me that I keep taking for granted the difficulties Madison must be going through. The emotional turmoil, coupled with the way her own understanding of the universe itself keeps changing. I feel another pain in my heart at that, a stab of guilt once more for enjoying her presence. Madison accompanies me unhesitatingly, her steps more confident than they used to be. We walk side by side. I relish the closeness. I wonder if it even crosses her mind. When we reach the clearing, Madison sighs contentedly, relaxed and easy. A tranquil expression settles on her face. Like a masterpiece of art, I'd spend the whole day appreciating that look if I could. Oh girl, you gay. The grove's serenity is contagious. I also feel a little more at peace here. We head for the shore of the pond, as still and glassy as ever.
I really love it here. It's so calm.
I nod. Of course we've discussed it before, but I don't mind. I could listen to her talk about anything for any amount of time.
It actually reminds me of somewhere back at home. There's a little lake near where Tara and I live. Sometimes I like to go and sit down there to think. There are a ton of geese and ducks around too. Sometimes they won't leave you alone, so you just have to ignore them.
I envision a flock of birds surrounding Madison, all quacking and vying for her attention.
Maybe they want you to sing to them too.
Madison laughs, sweet and subtle. It's the most beautiful sound in the world. Oh, baby.
Nah, they just want food. It's really popular to go down and feed them. Moms do it with their kids a lot. But then the birds get so used to it that they think every human has frozen peas for them.
Well, at least they're not giving them bread.
They must be disappointed quite often then.
Yeah.
She trails off, looking wistful. I'm sure that she's thinking of home. I try not to ask her much about her life before I met her, because I know that the memories hurt. To my surprise, though, Madison clears her throat and continues talking.
I wish that you could see it someday. My home, I mean, in America. I think you'd like it there.
I'm sure that I would. I'd love to see any place that you care so much about. All of the buildings and the lights.
I try to envision what it might be like, but it's futile. There's so much I don't know, so many things that I haven't seen. Trying to imagine it is like trying to imagine a color that I've never seen before. No matter what she says, it's impossible to visualize. Wow, Ricky! Hi! Thanks so much for the raid! Shout out. A Year of Springs? I don't know if I'm familiar with that. I hope you had a good stream. Where, well, now we are the ghost girlfriend of our dreams. And we're macking on Madi. And I've upgraded my, Madi cosplay. I'm gonna keep going since there's, like, no music at this, particular moment. But thank you. Should I introduce myself? If you're new here, I'm Honey Melon. I'm a melf, that's a Melon elf princess. I'm a translator, and right now we're playing Heart of the Woods, which is a Yuri visual novel. It's sort of a mystery, supernatural situation, but also with girls that kiss. Tripping on my words a little bit tonight, as I often do. Because I don't normally read aloud, but I'm having a nice time. So if you stick around, I hope you enjoy your stay. Even the memories I have of the few times that I left Eisenfeld have long since faded. To me, the only world that exists now is the forest.
I keep thinking, in your time, what would I have been like? Would I be the same person if I never fell in love with films?
Can't stop being weirded out by her saying films.
Films?
Oh, it's like a play that you can watch anytime. They're really compelling.
It's a pretty good explanation.
I see.
Madison moves her arms a little, looking like she wants to say more, but eventually just shakes her head. She smiles a bit sadly.
There are so many things like that. Films or events in history that are so normal to me, but that I keep forgetting you don't know about. So if I ever say anything that makes no sense at all, I can try to explain.
There are a lot of things I've wondered about, it's true. For instance, sometimes I'll see great noisy machines up in the sky. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Madison giggles again, but I don't know why.
Yeah, those are called airplanes. They're kind of like giant carriages that carry people around. That's how we got from America to here.
What? Don't tease me like that. There's no way something like that could fly.
No, it's true. It's really true. They're the fastest way to get around the world. There are also these things called cars, which are much smaller and only fit a few people. But most people own their own car and use it to get around.
Do you have one?
I do.
Why not use that to cross the ocean?
She laughs again, and I don't know why. At first I feel embarrassed, the gulf of knowledge that I lack nearly as wide as the ocean that she claims to have crossed. Oh, but then she steps closer, placing her arms around me in a light hug. Again, I don't know why. But it's lovely. I feel myself relaxing, leaning against her arms and just enjoying the closeness, the comfort, the affection. Far too soon, Madison relaxes, and I regretfully pull away from her. She gazes up at the sky, and for a brief moment, I anticipate another lesson about the modern world.
I've been thinking a lot about what you said the other day. About how you've never wanted to leave this place.
Yes, I'm far too cowardly for that.
And in many other ways, too.
I don't think that's cowardly at all. It's difficult to leave behind what you know and what feels safe. In fact, it's really scary. I know that the two don't really compare, but before I decided to quit Terra's show, I felt the same way. Like I was afraid to leave, just because I was so used to it being part of my life. But I decided that if I wasn't happy with how things were, that I should just take the risk and change something. Everyone has those worries, though. That doesn't make you a coward.
Madison half smiles, the side of her mouth curling up just a little bit.
If we ever do find a way out of here, maybe you could come back to America with me.
She's joking. I'm sure that she doesn't mean it, or at least not fully. And yet my heart flutters like a bird taking flight. Even after everything that's happened, that she'd even have concern for someone like me. She truly is the most extraordinary person I've met. And as happy as her offer makes me, it hurts like a knife in my heart because I know that it could never be. I wouldn't deserve that kind of happiness anyway. Oh girl, what's got you so angsty? Still, I smile back in kind.
That might be nice. Would I have to ride on an airplane?
Oh, definitely. People don't really take boats across the ocean for travel anymore. Not nearly as much. Pretty much everyone flies.
Isn't that scary? How does something so heavy manage to stay up in the air?
It's kind of scary the first few times, but you get used to it. As for how it's possible, well, there's all sorts of science behind it, but that would take too long to explain. Anyway, though, you could stay with me and Terra. We've got plenty of space. Or we could help you find your own apartment. There's a lot you'd have to learn about the modern world, of course, but it'd be worth it, and we could help you learn.
Madison continues on, explaining this and that procedure we'd have to go through and how we'd overcome each obstacle. I play my part, smiling and nodding along. It's an easy role. It does sound wonderful. In fact, there's nothing I'd like more. And though at first I thought she was joking, she's being completely serious. That makes it hurt even more. Because I know it's impossible. I close my eyes to help hide the tears that have sprung there, unbidden. Fortunately, Madison doesn't even seem to notice. Her voice trails off, and when I open my eyes again, I see that she's looking past me, her eyes wide with awe. I spin around. Fluttering about far too early in the day. Oh, hell yeah!
Those the fairies you were talking about?
Yes.
A handful of them flit about amongst the trees and lights, paying us no mind. They move like dancers, their motions fluid and in sync with each other. As one rises up to adjust a hanging light, another fairy weaves between branches, carrying something in its hands that I can't see. Though I only spy a few of them right now, I'm sure that many more are just out of sight, deeper in the grove or otherwise nearby. Madison watches them with unabashed awe.
What are they doing?
I shrug.
I'm not sure. I've never seen them out during the day like this. Usually they stay hidden in their hive until the moon is out. They aren't like humans. They're something entirely different. Even though I've spoken with them before, I don't really understand them.
Wait, they can talk? Like they can speak human language?
Yes. They aren't the most eloquent, but yes.
I see.
The only time I've talked with them was the first time I came to this grove, all on my own. At first, they had tried to drive me out, but eventually realized that I meant them no harm. Since then, we haven't interacted.
They're part of the forest too, right? In the connected way that you were talking about before.
Yes.
She makes a sound in acknowledgement, but doesn't say anything more. Whatever implications or meaning that might have to her goes unspoken. Soon, the fairies disappear once more into the trees, whatever business that called them here finished. They go silently, not even the hum of their tiny wings reaching us. After only seconds, we're left all alone again.
They weren't anything like I expected.
Really? How so?
In stories I've heard, fairies are always smaller and look like little people with wings. Not like what we just saw. And they usually live in flowers and fields,
Is that what they look
not
like?
the snow. But those are just stories, of course. I keep having to remind myself that this is real life, and that real life doesn't care what happens in stories.
Madison looks down at the pond. Gently, she places the tip of her foot into the water. Of course, the water remains still, like she isn't even there. She takes a tentative step forward, still standing upon the water. It supports her effortlessly. Her hands are slightly outstretched, as if she might lose her balance or footing and fall in. She turns around to face me.
I had an idea, actually, about getting out of here. Do you think that the forest spirit could help us? It's powerful, right? Maybe it could use its magic to make us humans again. We could even talk to it together. You'd seriously be welcome to come back with me and Tara. I'd like that a lot, actually.
I can't look at her, can't meet her eyes. All I can do is nod, trying to smile, and hope that she doesn't see my tears.
I'd like that too. Perhaps it could help.
Hey, School Rumbler!
There's
Voice
certainly a
acting is so
chance.
good. Whoops, sorry for talking over it. There isn't. Her face lights up. Even the prospect of leaving makes her happy.
Great! Maybe we can plan together what the best way to ask it would be?
We may or may not have one of the voice actors in our midst at this very moment. Although, not in this current scene, but... him! I just nod again. It's all I can do.
Sure.
But I really like all of the voice actors. I can't believe I had a poll to see if I should also read all the dialogue or not. There's so much of it. Slash, there's plenty to read as it is. I can't bring myself to tell her the truth. That no matter what she asks, no matter what she says, there's no way the spirit can grant her wish. It's not just something that can be reversed. Her mortal form was destroyed by Evelyn just shortly after I saved her spirit. Ah, shit. As far as the rest of the world is concerned, Madison Raines no longer exists. Neither the forest spirit nor I have the power to remake her. There's no escape. Well, shit. That's so pretty! I really need to look up the artist, who does the chapter art. I'm actually going to take a super quick break just to grab some more water because I'm going through it, giving my throat a workout. But yeah, I'll be right back. I wish you could stare at the chapter art for longer, but I guess it'll pop up here. Yeah. Aha, it's so cute. Okay. Thank you, Tadaima. Let's wait. I forgot who we are already. I guess we'll figure it out in a second. Another morning. Nothing's changed. No progress. No hope. The only difference this morning is that Tara's still asleep. Oh, okay, we're Morgan. It's the first time I've woken up before her since we started sleeping together. I'm glad she's still sleeping. I can tell she needs it. I slip out of bed and dress silently. My next move should be heading to the shop. Sticking to routine is what's kept Evelyn off our backs. For now. The instant I start thinking about Evelyn again, I'm hit by a powerful urge to climb back into bed and wrap my arms around Tara. Hold her for a little longer. I don't. She needs her rest, and there's still some time before she leaves. Somehow, thinking about that makes me feel even worse. I try to push the thoughts away, but her voice does that for me. Her voice does that for me.
Oh shit, what time is it?
She's sitting up in bed and rubbing at her eyes. She's still wearing her clothes from the night before, or at least the top half. But her sitting up doesn't mean she's actually awake.
It's still early. You can rest more.
No, it's fine. I got this.
I'm just going to go spend some time in the shop so nobody comes to check in on us later today. Get some sleep. I'll be back soon.
You sure?
I move back to the bed and kiss her forehead before lowering her onto her pillow.
I'm sure. I'll wake you up when I'm back.
Okay, cool. Thanks, babe. I mean, thanks.
So smooth. Dead silence.
I knew what you meant.
Wow. I'm out the door before either of us can say a word. I don't want to think about that right now. I just need to get to the shop. I'm so focused on that, I almost slam into Evelyn the second I step outside.
No need to rush, dear.
My brain jumps to panic mode. Why is she here? She's never here in the morning. Did she come for us? The door isn't shut all the way. I could run back inside, grab Tara, get out. I know deep down that it's pointless to try. If she wanted us dead, we'd be dead. I don't know why she's sparing us, but if she changes her mind, we won't get a warning.
What do you want?
Her mouth curls into a frown.
Am I not supposed to take an interest in my daughter's life? I thought you had outgrown that phase.
I grit my teeth, the sight of Tara's body being flung into the wall. Maddie's room in the cabin, hauntingly empty. She doesn't have the right to even pretend to be my mother.
I'm not your daughter.
Morgan!
I flinch as she raises her voice. I hate letting her get a rise out of me, but there's too many memories making me afraid of that sound. She just sighs, and her features sink. She almost looks visibly hurt. Only almost. There's still something inhuman about her expression. Something I've never been able to understand.
You can be so cruel sometimes. You weren't always. When you were young, you were the sweetest thing. You would never imagine the things you say to me so casually now.
I clench my fists, have to keep it together. My nails push slightly against the skin of my palm. As always, my fingers freeze before they draw blood.
I'm going to work.
My voice comes out as a rasp, and I cringe at the weakness of it. She puts her hand on my shoulder as I try to walk past.
Work can wait, dear. I'm sure your customers will understand. I have something to show you.
Don't like that.
I thought since you were so desperate to
Evelyn drops her hand, her lips twisting into a sickeningly sweet smile.
If you're not interested, however, I'm sure your American friend would be eager to join me.
My blood freezes. I want to hit her. I want to scream at her. I'm not sure if it's fear or the curse she's placed on me that keeps me rooted to the spot. I can't even look at her, up at her. She knows she's won, as she always has. I can feel her eyes on me as she waits for me to follow her. The moment passes and she makes a sound of affirmation. She turns away.
Now come with me, dear.
I figure out where we're heading after a couple minutes of walking. The forest. She's taking me in there, then this could be it.
Ah, here we are.
I look back to the house for what I hope isn't the last time. What's going to happen if Tara wakes up and can't find me? What if she never sees me again?
Tara.
I mutter her name under my breath. Some dumb, childish part of me hopes that she heard it somehow. It's better that she's not here, but I still wish she was.
What was that, dear?
Nothing.
I ought to thank your friend. She's made motivating you so much easier. It's nice to see you caring about someone other than yourself for once. I'd almost think you were finally growing up, if you weren't so stubbornly holding on to your teenage rebelliousness.
I don't say anything. I keep my face blank. 1, 2, breathing. She pays me no mind. We walk into the forest. Past the initial tree line into its depths. At least I know where we are. Or I thought I did. As we keep on walking, I realize that I don't know where we are at all. I don't recognize any of this. The trees are different. These aren't the ones I know. They aren't even the ones I saw when we started walking. I've walked this path dozens of times. There's no way I'm making a mistake. The branches blot out the sun even more than usual, and the shadows seem to blend around Evelyn. I can hear the creaking of old wood in the darkness. It almost sounds like the trees are moving. It's too soon to drop that expression. I've never seen the forest behave like this. I've never seen anything behave like this. As we walk, Evelyn keeps turning her head to glance at me, probably trying to see how scared I am. I don't let my expression waver. I won't let her in. She won't win this one. The things around me don't even look like trees anymore. They're too gnarled and rotten. They twist into shapes that should be impossible. They form walls around us as we walk, pushing us forward. I can't help drawing in on myself. It's like the whole forest is closing around us. It's getting harder to breathe. I feel like I'm about to be crushed by the forest itself. And just when I think I can't take any more, we break into a clearing. And in the center of the clearing is a beautiful, radiant tree. It's actually green. Real, brilliant green needles. The trunk is so thick and sturdy that the bark makes it look armor-plated. The rich scent of pine fills the air. The shadows around us are kept at bay by a shimmering golden light. I can breathe again. Crisp, clear air fills my lungs. The awful sensations of the twisted forest are all but forgotten. I reach out my hand to it, but only reach. Something inside me tells me that I'm not supposed to touch it, that I'm not even supposed to be here.
What is this?
She ignores me, or at least I think she does. I don't turn around to look at her. I'm too transfixed by the tree ahead of me. I don't know how long I stand there staring, but after some time I notice the air around me change. My limbs begin to numb almost immediately. When I look back at Evelyn, she's glowing. An oily shimmer all over her body. And she's smiling at me. Smiling.
You were so peaceful, so calm. I can't remember another time when you were so relaxed. I hate to interrupt it. Really, I do. But I only have so much time to spend here. do understand.
She starts walking towards me. You guys hear okay? I feel like Evelyn's voice is a tiny bit quieter than the others. That's when I see the knife in her hand. Ah, shit. I try to open my mouth to speak. I try to move my feet away from her. I can't. Completely still, impulse crashes against nature. My heart hammers in my chest. Every muscle in my body is frozen. I can't even shake.
This forest spirit. It's so young. As small as it is, the power within it is enough to melt the ice in this place, to draw you in. I love it so much, even though you'd only just met it moments ago.
A rush of understanding fills me. The warmth, the peace in this place. A haven from the cold, and we are the intruders.
I always knew you were part of this forest. Much more than any of the others. This confirms that.
She grabs my hand and holds it up, examining my palm, running her fingers over its creases, as if it's like nothing she's ever seen before.
I thought it would make you dangerous. It didn't. It made you weaker.
She presses the blade to my hand. My mind screams at my body, desperately trying to get my muscles to respond.
Your one chance at success, of escape. And you're weakened by it.
She laughs to herself like she knows a joke that I'm not in on. With a swift motion, she drags the knife against my palm. I stare in horror as blood trickles and pools from the open gash.
Since you loved it so much, I wonder how it will feel for you to be the one to kill it.
My strings are cut in that moment, and I fall over. The rush of sensations rush over me all at once. The pain, the cold. I scream out, clutching my palm. I turn and try to crawl immediately, my instinct shouting at me as I fall to my knees over and over. Get up, run, run! But it's too late. Evelyn grabs my wrist so hard I feel like the bones are about to break, and she swims me around and presses my bloody palm into the forest spirit. Before I can rip my hand away, I feel a voice bursting forth from within. Oh, I don't like that. Nope. Pain rips forth from my chest the more I try to hold the words back. I cover my mouth with my hands and stumble back in horror. But it's too late. An unexplainable sound fills the air. A hideous groaning. I know what it is. I do. I don't want to admit it to myself, though. Yeah, she's speaking in tongues. I don't like it. It's the spirit. Blackness moves up the shining green needles. The calming aura disappears completely, and it's replaced by something else. Pain. It's pain. I fall to my knees as the trunk begins to twist into itself. Bits of bark fall into the snow. The rotting blackness creeps up from its roots, and the unsteady trunk begins to sway. The needles wither and die. My head is filled with its suffering. I hear a crackling then. A black tar seeps out from the bark, smelling of death. Damn, this is some great purrs, though. Morgan screams in pain and terror as the ancestral tree before her is killed. It bursts into flames.
No, 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 no!
That looks like it says mango. Sorry, that's not helpful. I try to hold my mouth closed. Incantations leave my throat in a voice that's mine but yet isn't. Ah! Evelyn's standing farther back now, watching the scene before her. Her face is contorted into a terrifying grin. She's enjoying this. The crackling grows louder. My breath catches in my chest, and out of the corner of my eye I see Evelyn, hand outstretched.
No! Don't! Stop!
With a crack louder than thunder, the spirit's trunk splits in two. A beat of silence follows. and then I hear the screams. It comes from all around me, something crying out within the woods. A shrieking, earth-shattering wail. My heart breaks. It's not something in the forest, it is the forest. Somehow, the trees around me are screaming in pain. I'm screaming now. I can barely hear myself through the shrieking vortex around me. I can't look. I bow my head, still screaming as the fire burns. Even the fire feels wrong. It's cold, freezing. Fire blooms around the tree, shooting high above the tree line. In one giant, blinding burst, the tree is gone. All that's left is a circle of scorched earth. The burn is more intense than anything I've ever seen. It looks like it stretches down forever. Somewhere in my heart, I know nothing will ever grow here again. The screams start to fade. I slowly take my hands from my ears.
Thank you for being such a help. Really.
Morgan looks back at Evelyn with gritted teeth.
You're a monster.
How funny. Your mother said the exact same thing.
Ugh.
You really do take after her.
What? I can't gather my thoughts enough to respond. The screams are still echoing in my mind.
Never forget this day, child. In the brief time you have left, I want you to know for certain that you don't stand a chance at changing your fate. You never have. None of you ever had. And when the time comes for me to serve as my vessel, I'll make sure the next one won't either.
She reaches out towards me and I prepare for the worst. But all she does is pat my head and ruffle my hair.
You can find your own way home, I assume. I know how much you love these days.
Yep. I cut off her evil chuckle. She gives another chuckle as she turns and walks away, heading back into the shadowy trees. She disappears into the darkness. All that's left is me and the disgusting burnt circle. My mind is blank, numb with shock. Quietly, slowly, one thought begins to take form. これね。ちょっと... And a Japanese moment. There's nothing we can do. Don't stand a chance against power like that. She'll pay for this, no matter what it takes. Any opinions? I feel like we're kind of on the angry route already. I guess we'll be angry. I saved, right? Yes. She's tried to break me for years, over and over again. Right? Angry seems reasonable in this situation. Yeah. Angry. I've never let her, and I'm not going to let her do it now. I don't care how powerful she is. I don't care what she did to Madi. Crazy. She's going to pay, and Tara and I are going to make sure of it. We'll destroy her, once and for all. We'll leave this place behind for good, together. And nothing's going to stop us. I open the front door and its weight drags me forward as I stumble inside. I prop myself up on the knob, trying to catch my breath. I can't. Tara must have heard the door because her footsteps come booming down the stairs. She doesn't fall. I'm surprised, given that the last 5 times she ended up slamming into the wall. I keep telling her to be careful. This time I'm glad she isn't. Closing the door behind me, I finally manage to enter the kitchen as she rounds the corner.
Holy shit, you're okay. I thought when you didn't come home,
okay. Don't worry. It wasn't anything.
I can't seem to finish my sentence. My head is swimming. I stumble again, ready to collapse to the floor.
Let's go upstairs. You need some rest. Come on.
Her voice is warm, quiet, and reassuring. I can't believe it belongs to the same girl that spends her days yelling about the Loch Ness Monster. But it's what I need right now.
Thank you, Tara.
Hey, that's what I'm here for. We're the dream team, remember?
She flashes me a now very familiar, wide-mouthed, goofy grin. I can tell she's trying to distract me from the fear and worry I can see in her eyes. She's never been hard to read, but by now she's an open book. But at least she's trying. That counts.
Come on, let's get up there.
Tara holds my arm to steady me as we go up the stairs. I hate being like this. I'm not supposed to be weak. I can't be weak. I ignore the shaking in my legs and force myself to stand on my own. Even if I'm just walking to the bed to sit down, it helps.
You just sit here for a minute and relax, okay? I'll go make some coffee or something.
I thought you didn't even know how to make coffee.
That's where the or something comes in.
It takes me a second to realize that I'm laughing. Everything's gone wrong, but I'm laughing. Every time I start to lose hope, she makes me laugh. She's smiling again. It's genuine this time.
I guess I'll take the risk. Thank you, Tara.
I'm not good with words. I want to kiss her, to thank her genuinely. It's not the right time. I kiss her cheek instead. Tara hesitates, staring at Morgan blankly, her eyebrows knit together into a look of worry. She doesn't say anything, just turns and heads for the kitchen. Maybe that was a mistake, but I don't think it was. A whirlpool of panic hits my brain the instant she leaves. It threatens to overcome me, crashing over my thoughts and pulling me deeper into its abyss. My breathing runs ragged. I close my eyes, counting to 100 as I've done so many times before. But it's not enough. The forest, Madi, Evelyn, Tara. I try to raise my head above the water. I can't do this. After everything with Madi, with Evelyn, Tara shouldn't have to deal with my problems too. And neither of us has time to deal with all the feelings I know we're not talking about. If I'm a bigger part of the picture than Madi, I know what that's going to lead to. I'll hold it in. I'll be fine. I shake my head. It's so much harder to lie to myself than it used to be. Those heavy footsteps save me from the mess in my head. Tara slips back into the room with 2 mugs of what I think is supposed to be coffee. The smell of coffee always makes me feel calm, but right now it just makes me feel sick.
Here we go. If the caffeine in this doesn't wake you up, then at least the taste will.
As long as it doesn't kill me.
No promises.
I bring the mug to my lips and taste it carefully. It's not bad, or I'm just desperate. Either way, I keep drinking it.
So, what happened out there? Did she hurt you?
Not really. She just went on about how I can't do anything to her. It wasn't anything serious.
Come on.
Bullshit.
I want to tell her not to worry, but I can't. Evelyn's laughter rattles around in my head the second I open my mouth. I place the already empty mug of coffee on my desk. I hear Tara's sharp intake of breath behind me and I spin around, my heart racing. Fear and worry reflect in her eyes as her gaze flits between my face and my hand. I look down at my own palm, still bleeding gently. It throbs now that I'm looking at it. With everything that happened, I forgot about it. Tara reaches forward and holds my hand between her own, applying a gentle pressure to it. Her concern is more than I can handle. I can't lie to her.
I'm sorry, Tara. We've already got so much to worry about. I didn't want to give you more.
I want to look out for you, Morgan. I can take it.
Oops, sorry. The 2 of us sit silently for what feels like an eternity. Every sentence I try to form falls apart the moment I open my mouth. Screaming echoes in my head. But eventually, I do it.
And then I couldn't stop. I was killing it.
Tara rubs my hands, staying quiet as I continue talking. I feel my eyes stinging the more I speak, but I have to hold it together.
It was burning. It was burning and dying. It was like the entire forest felt it. I couldn't stop the magic no matter what I did. And after everything was said and done, Evelyn, she...
I feel a tightness in my chest. I've never spoken like this before to anyone, not even to Geladora.
She told me my real mother was just like me.
I can't bring myself to continue. Voicing the implications out loud would make them more real than they already are. My real mother is gone, and whatever similarities we bore means nothing now. All that matters is that she lost.
Shit, Morgan,
The stinging's getting worse.
She probably doesn't know how much we know. If she's trying to scare you, that means she's really scared of us. Her pulling weird shit in the forest isn't gonna change anything.
She can't understand. How do I tell her about the screams of the forest, that black fire?
The trees were...
I cut myself off. What am I doing? I already told myself I wasn't going to let this get to me. And here I am, already about to lose it. I have to keep it together.
You're right. Sorry. I shouldn't have made such a big deal out of it.
Hey, that's not what I meant. I want to hear what you have to say.
She sits down next to me. The stinging in my eyes isn't going away, no matter how many times I try to blink it back.
You know I'm not the best at, like, saying stuff. Knowing how to say stuff.
Isn't that your job?
Yeah, but do I ever look like I know what I'm doing?
Bless you. She holds my hands as I chuckle, my hands singular.
You've got a point. But I'm okay, I promise. It was just some cheap scare tactic. I wouldn't let something like that beat me. Like you said, this is just a sign that we're on the right track. Just because everyone else before us failed, that doesn't mean that...
Morgan,
Huh?
you're crying.
What? No, I'm not.
Inch by inch, I reach up and touch my I reach up and touch my cheek. It's wet. I can't be crying. My eyes are still stinging. I've been holding it back.
It's okay. You can cry.
I told you, I'm not...
My voice cuts off as I let out a choked sob.
I'm not...
I can't hold it back any longer. I let go. Tears flow down my face for the first time in years. Each one burns my skin like a tiny, painful reminder of how pathetic I'm being. I desperately try to wipe the tears away, even though I know it's pointless. They just keep coming. I squeeze my eyes shut instead, in hopes that it'll somehow force the tears back in. I know, poor Morgan. And then, once again, I feel Tara's arms around me. She squeezes me so hard that I start thinking she's trying to wring the tears out of me. It's okay to cry. I do it all the time. I want to push her away, to tell her I can handle this on my own. I don't. I can't. I need her.
Let it out. You know I've got you.
I let it out. I throw my arms around her and rest my head against her shoulder. All I can do is hope that the fabric muffles my sobs. She rubs my back slowly and presses her lips to my forehead. I already feel like I'm burning inside, but her warmth is different, soothing. My whole body shakes against Tara. She doesn't flinch. She doesn't say anything. She just holds me close. This isn't the girl I spent years watching yell about monsters on the internet. This isn't even the girl that stepped off the train a few weeks ago. Something about being here changed her. As I cling to her for dear life, I realize that it changed me too. I can feel my tears start to slow when that thought crosses my mind. I'm finally able to catch my breath. Tara's grip on me loosens as I stop shaking. When she takes her lips off my forehead, I have to fight the urge to pull her back down. I pull away and sit up instead. It's nice to be able to wipe my cheeks and actually have them stay dry. Looking at her now, I can see that Tara's face is stained with tears too. It's my fault.
I'm sorry.
Hey, it's cool. I don't think anyone on Earth or anywhere else would say you don't deserve a minute to get it all out there.
If you say so.
For what it's worth, I think you stand a way better chance than any of the people that came before you. After all, you've got one thing they don't.
What's that?
I see where this is going. She breaks into another massive grin that the tear streaks on her face can't hope to tarnish. I know what she's going to say before she even brings out the finger guns.
Me, obviously.
I start to chuckle before bursting into laughter. Real, full laughter. Every now and then, a sob slips in. I don't mind as much anymore. As always, she knew how to make me feel better.
My incredibly humble savior.
Hey, if I can't stay on brand even under the threat of death, I don't deserve to be popular.
I love that about you.
I clench my mouth shut the instant the words leave it. I don't know where that came from. Tara's expression makes it clear she doesn't either.
Thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
Wow. We look away from each other. I do my best to focus on anything in the room that will hold my attention. 1 second.
Hey, can I say something?
When I look back up at her, I can see that her entire face is bright red.
As much as I love to joke, I'm 100% serious about you having something that they didn't have. More than one thing, actually.
What are you talking about?
I mean, you're really brave. Like, the bravest person I've ever met. You're smart, too. A hell of a lot smarter than I am. You're...
She scrunches up her face in that cute way she always does when she's trying to figure out what to say next. Means I've seen a lot of it.
You're all the things that I act like I am. You're smart, you're brave, you're strong. You're not afraid to fight back against bullshit. You're beautiful, you're capable.
Oh.
You've been through a ton of bad shit all your life, and you're still fighting, even against things nobody else out there believes. I spend nearly every day of my life thinking about the strangest things in the world, and I still couldn't have imagined someone like you really existing.
If I hadn't watched her ramble for years, then I'm sure that by now she'd be incomprehensible. I can hear every word, and I can feel my heart beating faster with each one.
And you're just really awesome and fun to be around, and being here with you is one of the best things that's ever happened to me, and I don't want this to end, and I'm...
It's really impressive.
You're in love with me.
I'm in love with you!
Wait, did I just... And she... We both sit in stunned silence. I try to tell myself that I don't know where that came from. Another lie. That was a very cute confession. I've known for a while now. Just like I know that I...
Look, I'm really sorry. I know we agreed from the start that we wouldn't catch feelings. I swear I've never had this happen before.
She's a mess. But she's a mess I'm in love with.
I get if you're upset, and I'm sorry for bringing this up now while we've still got this other shit going on. And when this is over, I can just leave, and I won't make a big deal about any of it, and we can just go back to living our own separate lives.
Yes! I grab her cheeks and pull her face toward mine before she even realizes I've moved. I bring our lips together hard and kiss her in a way I never have before. I don't know how to describe it. I just know it's something new. We've kissed plenty of times, but this isn't like any of those. It isn't like any kiss I've ever had with anyone. It's healing. It's grounding. It's incredible. It only takes a second before she kisses back hard. She grabs me again and I can feel her hands moving along the length of my body. It's like she's looking for handholds. I realize in the back of my mind that this is the first time we've had a kiss this deep without one of us putting their tongue in the other one's mouth. I'd laugh if I didn't have more important things to do with my mouth. We do have to stop for breath eventually. All we do is blow hot air into each other's faces for a split second before coming back together. This is too good to let it end so soon. One of us is crying. It had better not be me. We break to gasp for air.
I love you too, obviously.
Tara plants smaller kisses on my bottom lip as I speak.
Yeah, I kinda figured.
Saying it out loud feels incredible. It's like dropping weights I've been carrying for miles. I can feel everything Evelyn took from me coming back in force.
I guess I really do have you after all.
Aww. With an air of finality, we break apart but remain close. Tara presses her forehead to mine and nuzzles my nose. Tara is blushing hard while looking at Morgan, determined.
I'm not going to let her hurt you. I promise.
I know.
We're gonna beat this thing, Morgan. We're gonna kick Evelyn's ass, and we're gonna save my best friend. And when we leave the shitty village behind for good, I want you to come with us.
Tara, I've been planning to leave Eisenfeld for years. Of course I'm going with you.
She closes her eyes and does a little fist pump gesture. I know it's just for show. I laugh anyway.
So, what does this make us?
What do you mean?
Are we, like, dating? Or...
She rubs the back of her neck and smiles awkwardly.
I mean, it's been a while since I've done something like this, and this isn't exactly a normal dating scenario.
I know what she's trying to say. We don't know what's around the corner yet. But right now, I don't care what's around the corner.
Yes.
Huh?
I'd love to have you be my girlfriend, Tara. You're right. We don't know what's coming next. But I do know that no matter what, we're leaving Eisenfeld together. So let's leave it together.
She freezes for a second, then she gives me a massive, goofy grin and throws her arms around me.
Romance and wordplay? My mom was wrong when she said I couldn't have it all.
We try to kiss, but we're too busy laughing. We fumble a bit more before we finally make it. It's really cute. You did an amazing job. That whole scene, I'm dead, honestly. That was really good.
So, girlfriends, huh?
That's how it works, yeah?
Awesome. Cool. Girlfriends. Yeah.
Stop.
You sure do have a way with words.
Hey, I have other talents.
Oh yeah? Like what?
I already know she's about to kiss me, but I beat her there. My lips meet hers on the way up. Her squeak of surprise melts away as we hold each other. We're still in danger. We still don't have any real chance at victory. We still have more questions than we do answers. But I'm not afraid. Not anymore. We're going to make a life for ourselves, somewhere out there in the world, and nothing's going to get in the way of that. I promise. Wah. Almost feels like a good place to stop, but maybe we should do one more scene. Be good if we could finish this chapter next time. Take a sip of water. What do y'all think? In fact, let me go get more water again. Be right back. Week. Let's go a little more, because I really want to finish this game. Well, I don't think we'll finish chapter 4 tonight, but I'd like to at least make sure that we'll be able to finish it next time. So I have restocked on water, and we'll go for a little longer. Alright. Well, girlfriends. Yeah. And now we're Maddie. Oh, I got really sleepy. One more scene, let's do it. It's been a weird morning. Usually when I get up, Abigail's awake and ready to go. And usually she has been for several hours. This morning, though, I awoke to find her dozing nearby, long past when she'd normally be up. She complained about having a headache, so we decided to take a walk through the forest to clear her head. Oh. So far it seems to have had the opposite effect, though, and we've been walking in uncomfortable silence. It's been maybe an hour or so when we first noticed the buzzing. At first it was very faint, like the sound of the wind or the rustling trees. But then it started to get louder and louder.
Fairies!
It's the first word she said in ages. She pulls me closer to her as the buzzing gets closer. Sure enough, the source of the noise soon comes into view. Yes, that was a very cute moment. Dozens of fairies, maybe even as many as 100, flutter past overhead. They form a cloud rushing through the forest, nimbly weaving over and under the branches. When I first saw fairies back in the clearing, their movements were graceful and delicate, but now they're frenetic and urgent. The swarm travels right toward us, though they don't seem to notice or care about us at all. The buzzing has grown to an almost ear-splitting level, and I realize it comes from their wings. Like bees, their tiny wings beat rapidly to keep them up. They're a blur against the fairies' snowy-looking bodies. I don't especially hear much. Turn it up a little bit. Don't want to get jump scared, though. I mean, I don't think this is a jump scare kind of game. I just mean, don't want to get blasted. Suddenly, several of the fairies split off from the rest and dive towards us. I fling up my hands to protect myself, but they come to a halt overhead. This is my first chance to get a good look at them. Their bodies are smooth and pale blue with the whitest tinge. Their eyes are beady and small, looking more like tiny flecks of obsidian than anything with sight. These are good designs. At first it looks like they're wearing gowns, but then I realize that what look like clothes are part of their body. Colorful plumage helps make each fairy distinct from one another. Rather than legs, their bodies taper off into a point like little ballerinas. Like snowflakes, no two look the same. One of them turns a somersault while the others hover anxiously.
Our queen!
Yep, it's a little loud now.
Is that you? Have you returned?
Their voices are all identical, squeaky and raspy, yet impressively loud despite their tiny size. It takes a second for me to realize that they're addressing me.
I'm sorry. I'm not your queen. I'm just an ordinary human.
A human? Ordinary? Don't think so.
They crowd in a little bit closer, their fingers grabbing the empty air as if to pick me up and carry me away. I take a step backwards, with Abigail still holding tight to my arm, but the fairies just creep in even closer. Their wings beat hummingbird fast, distractingly loud. This is a new track.
I promise, I'm just a regular person. You're mistaken if you think I'm your queen.
A mistake? Have you seen her? We've been looking.
We haven't seen her. We haven't seen anything like her.
I have no idea of what a fairy queen looks like, but I'm sure I haven't seen anything that fits the description.
How long has she been missing?
It's hard to say. Did you know? Time is a human concept.
Their answers aren't helpful at all. They at least understood my question, which means they have some knowledge of time. It doesn't make a difference, though. The rest of their swarm has moved on, the buzzing fading once again, but they don't seem bothered.
If we see her, I'll be sure to tell her you're looking.
That won't be needed. She surely knows. That's why she's our queen.
Fairy's peculiar way of speaking in turn is almost comical. Since they haven't left us alone yet, I'm assuming that they're still expecting or hoping for something. I'm a little afraid to find out what.
Do the three of you have names?
We don't. We have no need. Names are for humans, too.
They all nod in unison. Given how everything else about them seems to be insect-like, I just assume that they have a hive mind of sorts. It would fit with everything else I know about the forest. I'm getting a bit tired of all the different networks and connections. It's silly, but it feels a little like not knowing the password to a friend's Wi-Fi. To help keep them straight in my mind, I give each of them a name. The one with the purple flower is Hay. Anan has the blonde hair, and the last one is Frio. Where are these names coming from? Did you have a name generator? I guess she reads a lot. Beside me, Abigail tugs at my sleeve surreptitiously. She's angled away from the conversation, trying to lead me out of it. I turn back to the fairies, putting on my best customer service voice. Oh, isn't that a mood?
We have to go now. It was nice to meet you. I hope you're able to find your queen soon.
I don't want to turn my back on them, so I wait for them to say their farewells and leave. But instead, they come in even closer, causing Abigail to gasp.
Don't go! What if you stayed? You could be our queen. You would do. We could make it so. It would be easy.
Alarm bells ringing in my head, I start to step backwards with Abigail keeping right on me.
There isn't anyone else. Not everyone is suitable. But you are.
Let us show you what it'd be like. We can give you a taste. Would that be all right?
Their buzzing and flittering slows as 3 pairs of eyes stare at us. Abigail squeezes my arm. I move my mouth to say no, but the way their gaze pierces into me roots me to the spot. Like tiny dancers adorned with glitter, their skin shimmers in the low light, filtering through the clouds.
Madison, come on, let's go.
But I can't. Or rather, I don't want to. Not yet.
What if I know something useful, Abigail?
We know lots of things. Secret things, clever things. We can know you, too.
They're pests. Their buzzing is a little too loud and their voice is a little too shrill, but...
You don't belong here. We can tell. But wouldn't you like to belong?
They creep a little bit closer in a synchronized motion. They're close enough now that I could reach out and grab one if I wanted to, or slap them away. I don't know. A place to belong. Would they really offer that?
What exactly do you mean?
I can feel Abigail's grip tighten around my coat, but she doesn't say anything. Sensing an opening, the fairies circle dizzyingly around our heads.
The forest doesn't reject you. But it doesn't accept you either. We could change that, though. Whatever it is you want! Whatever you're searching for, if you help us. Wouldn't you like that?
With a jolt, I turn to face Abigail. I'm sure she knows what I'm thinking. Whatever I want, there's only one thing. Freedom. Abigail stares back at me for a moment and then presses herself against me. Looking up at the fairies, I nod.
Okay. Just a taste.
It's an unexpected turn. Excited, they dive downwards until they're level with my face. Abigail cringes but doesn't let go. As one, the fairies close in, placing their hands on my face like they're checking my temperature. Their hands are frigid, painfully so. It's amplified by the fact that I haven't felt cold in days. My hands jerk upwards out of instinct, ready to pry them away, but I don't. Then one of the fairies moves their hands to cover my lips, one covers my ears, and the other covers my eyes. For a split second, I feel like I'm falling through the air. And then it all hits me.
All I see is black. I'm alone. And yet, hundreds of presences flood my consciousness all at once. I can tell they're the fairies, but I don't know how I can tell. I'm bombarded by their awareness like tiny darts, not using words or thoughts or intentions, but just feeling. They're somehow distant, as if behind a wall, but so present. I try to find the semi-familiar presences of Hey, Frio, and Anon, but they're indistinguishable from the rest. There's no individuality, no sense of identity at all. They're just the fairies as a whole. But I can feel what they're feeling. Panic and anger and hurt all churned together. The feeling of being lost, of not knowing where to go or what to do, but not being able to sit still. Though I can't tie it to any particular memory or event, the feeling hits me so strongly, so undiluted that I think I might cry. I can feel that they've been scared by something, but I don't know what that something is. Then, at last, I feel a nudge within my mind. The sensation of being noticed. The presence takes me in, welcoming me. It occurs to me that I no longer exist. I try to ask what's going on, but I don't need to. The moment the question forms, the presence with me starts to answer. Images play in my head, ones I've never seen before. They're grainy like an old film. If I try to focus on a particular detail, the whole thing becomes muddy. I can see flames burning away at the forest, The fire is so real that I can almost feel its warmth. But when I start to focus on it, that too vanishes. The presence of the fairies weighs on my mind, an uninvited audience to the next part. I can see a fairy stumbling alone, but something's wrong with it. I realize instantly, I can't feel its presence. Where it should be, there's just a gaping hole, so vast and profound that it hurts by sheer exclusion.
Oh, right. Chilladora is supposed to be a fairy, right?
It's agonizing. I want to tear my heart out of my chest so I don't have to feel it anymore. The presence of the fairies, the whole nest, tries to reach out after it and fill the hole, but it won't allow itself to be touched. The moonlight overhead, which I crave, falls onto the lone fairy who hastens to escape it. The lone fairy flees, and the rest of them, the rest of us mourn. One word pulses through my head, both a condemnation and reassurance. One word, though I don't know what it means. Moonsick, 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 moonsick. The vision twists, and I can see a woman. But she isn't a woman. She's also a fairy, but not just. I'm so happy and relieved to see her that I just know she's the fairy queen. I can feel how much she misses the lone fairy. I know, because I miss her too. Desperately. I can see her searching, her hope never fading, until one day, she's gone. The loss is even greater this time. A sick mixture of guilt and shame plagues me, because I don't know where she is. I don't even know how long she's been missing. How could I have not noticed?
Forming like a vague theory, but I don't know.
The loneliness is so great that I want to do anything to erase it. Another silhouette flickers, just out of sight, but I can't keep track of it. We all have to watch it together, and then I realize it's me. But just like the fairy queen I saw before, it's also not me. Visions of time pass, months, years, centuries, and throughout all of them, all of the loneliness is gone. It all feels right. I could fix this.
The fairies remove their hands from me, and I burst back into the real world with a mighty gasp for air.
Madison, are you alright?
Fairies dart back up, away from the furious glare that Abigail gives them. All I can feel now is her hand clutching me, and I put my arm on her shoulder for support. My head spins, and for a second I think I might fall over. The dizzy spell passes soon. Once I'm confident I'm not going to collapse, I nod.
I'm fine. How long was I out?
Abigail's face flickers into a look of confusion. She presses her hand to my forehead.
Out? I didn't think they'd even begun.
What?
I watch the fairies, struggling to comprehend how so much could have happened in an instant like that. There's no way.
We told you, didn't we? We aren't bound by time. Join us and you won't be either. Now that you've seen, and now that you've felt, will you join us?
Eyes wide, Abigail looks up at me. She doesn't have to say anything for me to know she's begging me to decline. I wish she could have felt how warm it was, how nice it was to belong like that. Yet, at the same time, it feels like a distant dream now, something detached and fading. I try to remember the sensation, but I can't. There's water slipping through my fingers. It seemed so real, but it wasn't. It was only a second. I can't sign my life away to the fairies for 1 second of visions, no matter how right it felt, no matter how comfortable. I'm sure that I was just seeing what they wanted me to see. smile at Abigail and then shake my head, rejecting the fairies.
I'm sorry, but I can't. Thank you for showing me what it would be like, though.
How can we persuade you? We need our queen soon. You could be our only hope.
I know you do. But I'm sorry. That just can't be me.
We hope you'll change your mind. We'll be waiting for you. We'll be waiting for a queen.
With that, they turn tail and dart off in the same direction that their swarm had gone. Soon, all trace of them is gone, like they'd never even been there.
Madison, are you sure you're all right?
Hi, Blake. We're having a normal one.
Yeah, I'm sure. It was just a lot. Was that really that fast?
Yes.
Yes. They touched your face and then a moment later you gasped.
That's insane. It felt like a long time. Like years had passed.
Abigail looks troubled, staring off into the forest where the fairies disappeared.
Fairy magic is strange and beyond me. They're similar to the forest spirit, and yet...
Different, but in a way you can't put into words.
That's right. You certainly did see a lot, didn't you?
Yeah, I guess so. Have you ever met their queen? Or seen what she looks like?
Just once, long ago. She and the forest spirit are both guardians of the forest. Did you see her in your vision?
Think back to what I saw as best as I can remember. The image shifts and shakes in my head, not wanting to be called to mind. More than what she looked like, I just remember how I felt, so happy and relieved to see her.
I did, but I didn't get a clear look at her. I knew who she was, but I don't know if I'd recognize her if I passed her on the street. Do you think you could mistake me for her, like they did?
Absolutely not. You're much prettier than she is.
Abigail says it very matter-of-factly, as if she didn't just give me an enormous compliment. And she carries on like it too. Be still, my beating heart. Oh, we're getting fed tonight.
To the fairies, I expect it's hard for them to tell the difference between humans. So maybe you looked like her to them.
I wonder how long the queen's been gone. It seems like they'd been coping just fine without her, until something happened to scare them.
Something like what?
Something hot and bright. Something burning. Something that hurt to think about.
I don't know. I think it had to do with fire, maybe? So much of what I saw felt real, but most of it wasn't.
Fire.
Worry creases her face.
What's wrong? Did you remember something?
No. It was just a thought.
Rather than elaborate, she fidgets with her hands. I don't push the subject.
Maybe that's enough fresh air for today. We can head back to the church.
All right.
I'm pretty sure I detect a hint of relief in her voice. For the first time, I lead the way home. At least, I hope it's the way. I'm reasonably confident. At my side, Abigail remains quiet and lost in her thoughts. With one hand, she clings limply to my sleeve, trusting my navigation. I don't disturb her, instead concentrating on remembering the path. It's to challenge myself. I'm sure that if necessary, Abigail would be able to lead us home from anywhere. Still, I'm beginning to fear that I've led us astray when the grim walls of the church start to come into view. A mixture of relief and pride flows through me. It's also a little bittersweet. I've come to think of the church as home, even though I never felt that way about the cabin. Despite the fact that the concept of home is just a formality now, surrounding ourselves with walls and a roof doesn't change a whole lot. Clouds are beginning to settle overhead, muting the daylight and making everything murky. It feels fitting for the mood. Abigail speeds up a bit as we reach the doors, and she's the first one inside. She sits down on one of the benches, fatigued.
Mind if I join you?
I gesture at the open spot beside her.
Please do.
Wordlessly, she rests her head against my shoulder.
Headache still?
She nods.
I'm afraid so. Our encounter there sure didn't help.
I'm sure.
They gave me a headache of sorts, too. More of a notion that I can't get out of my head. The fairy's outstanding offer sits with me. As hard as I try, I can't fully push the idea away. If there isn't any other way out of this, then maybe being a fairy queen would be preferable to just being a normal ghost. As long as I could still have Abigail with me. That's a last resort, though, because for as long as I can, I have to hold out hope that things can just go back to normal, that Tara and I can leave Eisenfeld the same way we arrived, and that we can take Abigail with us. Everyone's trying to bring a girlfriend home as a souvenir. Beside me, Abigail shifts her head just a little.
I'm sorry. Am I bothering you like this?
Not at all.
I wonder if she's close enough to hear my heart beating. Maybe it can't always be like this, but just for now it's alright. Although it's been a couple days since we met the fairies and they made their offer, I haven't been able to get it out of my head. The visions themselves are just slush by now, with the memories of them having eroded into non-existence. But the feelings remain, the feeling of belonging and of freedom. There's something else I can't get out of my head, though. And she's sitting right beside me.
Madison! Here they come!
Sure enough, a mother deer and her fawn come traipsing out of the bushes, no doubt on their way to get a drink. Starlight and the waxing moon make them look like ghosts at first, barely visible in the dusk. Upon entering the clearing, they see us and both freeze. Abigail smiles encouragingly, reaching out a hand towards them. After a moment's hesitation, the fawn takes one tentative step towards us, then another, and another.
This one's name is Alma.
Hello, Alma.
I greet it the same way I would greet my friend's dog or cat. Deciding we're not a threat, the mother deer goes to the pond while the baby one creeps even closer. Abigail never moves towards it, never pushing too far. Then it nuzzles her hand, leading into a soft scratching motion of her fingers.
Is this the deer that was watching you sing the other day?
Most likely. Alma's a little bit shy and sometimes prefers to keep her space.
You know this deer pretty well, huh?
I just noticed that Castor is watching me.
Of course. We're very good friends.
To demonstrate, she strokes Alma's tawny neck. She doesn't even have to sit up to do so, since the fawn's face is just about level with her shoulders from where we're sitting on the ground. Alma closes her eyes, clearly enjoying the attention.
Would you like to pet her? I'm certain she'd let you.
Sure.
I lean forward, my hand outstretched like Abigail's was. But the second I move, Alma's eyes go wide and she bounds away into the darkness. Her mother watches, alarmed, from the shoreline.
Guess not.
Alma, come back! I promise Madison won't hurt you. She's just as sweet as you are.
I'm glad for the darkness and that she can't see me blush. While she's not looking, I scoot a little bit closer to Abigail. Just a bit. The hanging fairy baubles help to illuminate a young deer who watches from a safe distance. None of the fairies themselves seem to be around, though. It takes a bit, with Abigail and I both sitting silently, but the fawn chooses to come back after all. Her steps are still reluctant and ready to dart away at any second. She lets Abigail pet her, but watches me warily while it happens. I don't mind. I'm content to just watch and enjoy seeing how happy it makes them both.
How long have you known Alma? It must have been a while for her to trust you like this.
Oh yes, I've known her for her whole life. And I've known her mother since she was small too.
Abigail waves at the mother deer by the pond, who's returned to sating her thirst.
That's amazing.
can only imagine the patience, time, and dedication it must have taken to earn the trust of the woodland creatures. Still, all things considered, I'm not surprised that they'd make an exception for someone like Abigail. She exudes comfort. I'm not sure how else to describe it, and I've certainly never felt anything like it before. Maybe being too close to her is just as comforting for the deer as it is for me.
Do you have any other animal friends that I'll get to meet?
Oh, certainly, if you'd like. I'm sure Mr. Bear is asleep for the season, but perhaps once he wakes up. There are also a pack of wolves around, but for Alma's sake, that would be best left to another time.
The deer nuzzles her hand in agreement, and Abigail coos contentedly at it.
None are quite so friendly as Alma and the rest of the deer, though. When I was a child, I wanted to have a deer for a pet. I thought that perhaps I could learn to ride one, like a horse. My sister and I would look for footprints in the snow and track them for as long as we could.
She looks up at me, smiling despite the melancholy tone her voice has taken on.
We never got very far, of course. Hardly a few feet into the forest. But to children like us, it was quite an adventure.
You must miss her a lot.
Abigail hardly ever mentions her family. I imagine that despite how long it's been, their memories must still be painful. She smiles thinly.
In a sense.
The deer is still luxuriating under her caress. Her hand moves rhythmically and gently, alternating between patting and scratching Alma's neck. She relaxes a little, resting against my side, but continuing to pet the deer.
More than anything, I think I miss the days of wonder and awe, back when the forest and all of its creatures were still a mystery. Sometimes I wish it could be like that again, that it could be unknown.
You know, we're getting the full range from cute to spoopy tonight.
You wish that you hadn't met them?
No, not at all. At least, not given the circumstances. I'm quite grateful for the companionship they've given me. For so many years, they've been one of the few sources of company that I've had. But while my love for them has never diminished, I've come to the conclusion that it's grown to the most it can grow as well. That's simply what the world had become for me. A small world of knowns, and nothing more.
She looks away from the deer and back at me. A few tears spot her face, but she doesn't look sad. In fact, she's beaming. My gosh. Are we gonna get a Renzoku confession?
And
Like
then I met you, Madison.
Like a 2 for 1? Moonlight frames her face. The lovely night sky, the fairy tale friendly deer, the ethereal woman. It's an image straight out of a painting.
You were my first unknown in countless years. The first soul I could speak with that I didn't yet understand. And what a wonderful unknown you turned out to be.
I'm frozen again. I've never had anyone say anything that sweet to me. How am I supposed to respond to something like that? Not smooch? I try to calm my heart as it hammers in my chest. Looking at her soft expression only serves to accelerate its rhythm.
Thank you. That's really sweet.
Nailed it.
I think you're wonderful too.
Her free hand darts out to grab mine before I have a chance to react as her eyes widen even more, nearly startling the deer away.
Do you really mean that, Madison?
I really do. You're an incredible person. I can't imagine having to go through what you've been through without losing any sort of capacity for joy. But here you are, still so full of energy and positivity. I hope that I can maintain that sort of optimism.
Abigail lets go of the deer and flings her arms around me in a tight hug. It's a pretty awkward position because of how we're sitting together, but I don't mind. I hug her back as best I can, my only anchor in the storm of chaos that my life has become. Indignant, Alma slicks her ears back and darts off toward the forest again. Without letting me go, Abigail cranes her neck to watch, this time not calling the deer back. Alma's mother bounds over to join her daughter, and they both go careening off. I lean my head down to rest against Abigail's in what's become a familiar position. When did we get so comfortable with each other? Being like this just feels natural. She parts from me after a moment, sitting up straight again. She tilts her head up to look at the stars, and I gaze with her. The night is mostly clear, except for a few wispy clouds. All is still and quiet and calm. Even the pains of the forest don't seem to reach us here.
I wouldn't call myself an optimist.
I blink, surprised by her sudden words.
I don't, nor have I ever really had much hope. There are small comforts and delights, but those aren't the same thing as hope. I can remember names and faces, and even dreams and aspirations that I once had. But do you know what the most curious part of it is?
She glances at me, and I notice tears in her eyes. Without thinking, I reach up and brush them away. No reaction. My heart pounds in my chest, nervous about something that I can't identify, or that maybe I'm unwilling to accept, afraid to be wrong about.
What is it?
I can't remember how it felt for those dreams to be within reach. Even with my meager, lonely existence, there was still a chance. As unlikely as it would have been, there was always a possibility that someday something would change. Something might happen. There was a light, so to speak, to look forward to. And the day that I died, that light went out.
More tears, replacing the ones that I wiped away, sparkle in her eyes. I move to repeat the motion from before, but this time she stops my hands, holding them in her own between us.
I never gave thought to what this unlife might be keeping me from. Not from the life I left behind, but whatever it is I would have been met with had I lived to the end of my days. For a long time, I considered myself lucky that I was free from hurt and pain and worry and loss. Even if they were predictable and boring, the years here in the forest haven't been unpleasant. But I've never been optimistic. I've never had anything to look forward to. Never, in my wildest dreams, did I imagine meeting someone as perfect as you. Never did I imagine that I would be happy again.
I understand. I know what she's saying, and more importantly, what she means. A shiver runs down my spine.
But Madison, I don't deserve this happiness. Not at the cost of your own. I keep thinking how if I'd been a bit faster, or more decisive, perhaps I could have saved you that day in the snow. And that even if not, I don't know what future I've stolen from you. I don't know what awaits those of us who pass on. All I know is this unlife and its permanence, and the way that you deserved better.
She's crying now, fully. Her chest heaves into a sob, and I pull her closer to me in as tight a hug as I can manage. As kindly and delicately as I can, as gently as she always treats me, I hold her and sway gently, as much as our position will allow. I can tell just from the way she cries that she's been holding this in for a long, long time. I let her let it all out. It must have hurt so bad to be feeling this way. I speak in a whisper. Maddie and Abigail sit together in front of the moonlit lake.
It's not your fault at all. Don't ever blame yourself for any of this. I know I don't. Ever since we met, that day in the forest clearing, all you've done is made things better for me. I don't know if I ever told you this, but during those first days after we met, seeing you again was all that I would look forward to. I'd go to bed thinking about you, and wake up the next morning thinking about you.
Thank you for the watermelon. I will water the melon.
And as for everything else, to be honest, I don't know how to feel about a lot of it. So much of it is just hard to process. I thought that it would get easier with time, but it hasn't. But there is one thing I know. One thing that I'm absolutely sure of.
I squeeze her hands and I see her startle, just a bit. No matter what I'm missing out on, I'm sure I'd rather be here with you. I mean it, every word of it. I've never really put too much thought into an afterlife or anything like that. But any time spent here with Abigail is time well spent. And if that means eternity, then, well, so be it. Beside me, Abigail gazes into my eyes wondrously. Her lips move as she searches for the words she wants to say.
Madison.
Ah! She shifts so that the starlight caresses her face, perfect and yet not nearly as luminous as she is.
May I kiss you?
Ah! For once in my life, I don't overthink it.
Yes.
Her eyelids flutter and close. Her breathing trembles, then steadies. I empty my head of any other thoughts. Head empty, only girl. And I press my lips to hers. I'm dying. Well, I mean, I guess I'm kind of dead, but... Wow. So soft and so warm. As delicate as the fresh fallen snow. As sweet as cotton candy. Her form shivers against me and I place an arm around her for support and for comfort, mutually. I can feel her getting more confident and more relaxed as 200 years of loneliness are melted away one by one, and we're left as just two souls sharing a first kiss under the night sky. It feels so right that after we've both been through so much sadness and loss, that we're now able to share this moment of joy. Not just share it, but be able to offer it to each other. It's our light at the end of the tunnel. Weh. I mean, I knew this was a Yuri game, but I've also, played or read Yuri. Shut up, Caster. Where you're lucky if you get, like, one kiss at the very end. And that's fine, but it just makes this even more special. When we finally part, my lips still feel electrified. She regards me with a coy expression, but a happy one.
That was even more wonderful than the many times I had imagined it.
Ah, you.
I hope it was worth the wait.
I'd wait another 200 years if it was the only way I'd get to kiss you again.
I wish you could have heard Caster just coming up to yell at me. It's over here now. Shit, I got paint on my plate.
I promise. You won't have to.
Blah. To prove it, I lean forward and give her another quick peck on the lips. He's just trying to support the Willow. It's true, Castor's an ally. What's up, buddy? He came back. Have something to share with the class? A smooch. What are you doing, though? You gotta pick. Abigail leans against my side yet again. We've done this several times before, but it's never felt like this. It's never felt this right. Everything feels a little bit brighter now. What should I do? Should I stop? I guess we'll keep going until the narrator changes. Our next day passes blissfully. We wander the forest, seeing all our favorite spots. The comfort of our new relationship makes the time we spend together even more joyful. Everything is prettier when I'm seeing it with Abigail beside me. Yay! Of course, as has become our tradition, we end up back at the mystical fairy grove. Don't mind Castor. We settle into our favorite spots by the shore with the perfect view of the pond. As much as I love films, I've never been a big fan of romantic scenes. They always feel so forced. The soaring music, the obvious atmosphere, the cheesy dialogue. They're so divorced from real life that I just can't take them seriously. Yeah, you should go to sleep. I thought it seemed late for you to be up. But thank you for coming. Yes, I'm glad you caught a good part. Not that they're not all good parts, but that was a real good part to catch. 3 a.m. I don't know her. I have never seen her. Did you hear that tiny meow that Castor made just for you? He actually made it so I would let him get off my lap, but that's not gonna happen. Okay. Oh, huh. Oh, but here I am, watching the sunlight reflect off the shimmering water of the lake as the woman I love leans against me. Aw. Thank you, Link. Have a good night. Oh, he's slipping. Okay, you can go. Oh, sorry, buddy. My blanket is not very grippy. And I think that maybe those scenes weren't so unrealistic after all. Sorry, I just ruined that very good little moment with the cat.
What is it, sweetheart?
Sweetheart. Sweetheart. I feel like Maddie and I have similar thought processes sometimes. I don't use pet names. It's not like me at all. But with her, I feel like it fits.
I know that I've said this before.
Can't believe she's not gonna bat an eye at that.
In the future, but today and yesterday have been some of the happiest days of my life.
Mine too. And it's okay. I'll never get tired of hearing you say that.
She smiles at me, as soft as ever. But hidden in her expression and in her tone of voice, I can detect a tinge of sadness. I touch her face, running my thumb across her cheek. She closes her eyes and leans into the motion.
Are you feeling okay?
Of course. Why wouldn't I be?
I don't know. You just looked a bit sad. Maybe it was my imagination.
I half expect her to deny it, but instead she nods.
You do know how to read me, don't you?
I do. What's wrong? You can tell me anything, I promise. Only if you want to talk about it, of course.
She pushes closer to me in response, resting her head against my chest.
This day is so lovely. I don't want to say anything that could spoil it.
You don't have to worry about that, Abigail. I love you, and that means I want to be here for you no matter what. We're going to have plenty of wonderful evenings. I promise. And being open with each other is the best way to make sure they stay wonderful.
This is unlike me too. Usually on the first day of a relationship, I'm still a bumbling bag of nerves. What if I say the wrong thing? What if I move too fast or too slow? But it's different with Abigail. That fear isn't there. I can't quite explain why. I just feel like I don't have to worry with her.
I was thinking about other happy days that I've had. How long it's been since then. And how the memories have since soured. How much have I told you about my sister?
I knew there was something going on there.
You mentioned that the two of you were close, and that you spent a lot of time in the woods together, but that's it.
I wonder if it's related to Evelyn.
We weren't just close. Helena and I were inseparable. Whenever anything went wrong, she would always be there to protect me. She swore that that would never change. But fate had other plans for the two of us.
She trails off. Every other time she's mentioned her sister, it's only in passing. Her story last night about tracking deer is the only solid detail I have about her. At first I expect her to stay quiet like before, but instead she keeps talking.
For as long as it's existed, Eisenfeld has had a curse, you could call it. A terrible monster who would destroy the village if given the chance. To appease its terrible rage, we would offer a sacrifice to it. Every generation, a new offering would be chosen. But it didn't just want flesh. The head priest would take the sacrifice into the forest to be offered to the horrible spirit. The sacrifice's soul and the head priest's body would both be consumed. Then, the new head priest would emerge, having taken the form of the poor sacrificed victim. It was a painful reminder of those we had lost. When I found out that it would be a member of my family who was to be taken and given over, I wasn't shocked. There was only one thing that I cared about. That it wouldn't be my beloved Helena who was harmed.
Her voice wavered just before she falls silent. Before I can tell her that she's said enough, she speaks again. Each word shakes as it leaves her mouth.
I couldn't forget the joyous days of our childhood. I couldn't let such a kind soul suffer such a horrible fate. So, when the time came, I offered myself. I volunteered to die so that Helena could live. And in that very moment, when our fates were sealed, I looked at them, at Helena, and do you know what I saw?
Captivated by her tragic story, I can't even answer. I don't move my head or my lips.
Relief.
Oof.
Not once did she try to stop me or change my mind. Not that I would have let her, but I don't think she even thanked me. My parents cried, of course, but they didn't argue either. Neither of them stepped forward to take my place. No one did. While I'm sure my sacrifice was appreciated, I was quickly discarded without even a token effort or gesture of appreciation. My sister, who had sworn to always protect me, had no difficulty accepting the fact that I would die for her.
Yeah, seriously.
What? She just
A lot of emotions going on.
gave you away? Just like that?
If death
This
looms over
chapter's
you for
loaded.
long enough, it corrupts everything. Even love.
It didn't corrupt you.
Perhaps. Though I believe that that's why I'm still here today.
What do you mean?
The first step of the ritual involves separating the sacrifice's body from its soul. From what she told me, as she did it, those poor victims usually try to resist, begging for someone else to be taken. And when their souls are ripped away, they're too damaged to carry on. I I didn't resist. I went peacefully. And so the gentle forest spirit, who I'd been raised to believe was some kind of demon, eventually came and took me away. And I've been here ever since.
Her words carry a sense of finality. Not knowing what else to do and still stunned by her story, I simply lean closer to her and pull her into an embrace. There aren't any words that could be enough. Physical comfort is all I can offer. To my surprise, though, when she finally pulls away from me, she looks happier than before. Just like I did earlier, she touches my cheek gently and then leans in for a kiss.
Thank you for listening. I've told the one person who matters, and now I think I can heal.
I know, sweetheart. I love you. More than anything.
Can't handle the 0 to sweetheart.
I love you too. More than anything.
It's sweet though, obviously. She sighs contentedly and leans against my shoulder. She takes my hand, intertwining her fingers with mine. We sit there for a long time. We don't say anything. We don't even move. All we do is watch the sky and feel each other's heartbeats. Still not a scene change? I wake up with a headache and I know that something's wrong. The narrator change, rather. That is a scene change, but... I'm alone. Abigail must have disentangled herself from my arms at some point, leaving me on my own. I get up and pace around the church, not seeing her. After a bit, I find her outside its doors.
Good morning.
Good morning, my love.
Her lips smile, but her eyes don't. It's a look I'm pretty familiar with by now. I slip an arm around her as I take a spot by her side.
Sleep okay?
Well enough. I'm sure all of my nights will be better now that they're spent beside you.
Nice. I can't help it. I kiss her on the cheek and true joy brightens her face.
How about you?
Pretty good. I woke up with, like, a bad feeling, though.
A bad feeling? About what?
I'm not sure. My head kinda hurts, so maybe that's it? Actually, now that I think about it, this is the first actual pain I've felt since turning.
It's not the worst headache I've ever had, not by far. But it's enough to be annoying. It feels the same as being dehydrated or having a slight cold.
Aw, poor dear.
She stands on her tiptoes to kiss my forehead.
I felt the same, actually. I had hoped that stepping outside might help, but it seems not.
She rubs her temples, and I notice just how ragged her eyes look.
How long have you been out here?
A while. Perhaps an hour or so. I was afraid I'd wake you.
Nah, I slept right through. It's not just a coincidence that we both feel sick, is it?
Abigail purses her lips. Her brief silence is enough confirmation.
No, I doubt it is. It must be something to do with the forest.
The trees before us sway in the breeze. To me, they look the same as ever. No traces of lingering sickness or pain.
You felt bad the other day, too. When we first met the fairies? Was it the same thing then?
Most likely. Changes in the air. Something's happening. And it isn't good.
I think of the fairies, fleeing some unseen terror.
Is it Evelyn?
I half expect her to shake her head. I want her to say no, but she nods.
I think so. I don't know what she's done or why, but this can't all be coincidence.
I nod, my thoughts turning to Tara and Morgan. I wish they would just get out of here. Leave me to my fate and escape. Let Evelyn do whatever it is she's doing while they're across the ocean, safe. I know that won't happen, though. Tara's not the type to back down from a fight. Except this time, I know she's hugely outmatched, even with Morgan's help.
What about the forest spirit? You said it's a guardian of the woods, right? Why doesn't it stop her?
I'm I'm sure it's doing what it can, but it's just as intimately connected to the forest as the fairies are. Far more than you or I. So as the forest itself weakens, so does it.
Worry creases her brow.
Is there any way we can help?
Not that I know of.
I can tell she's not really happy with that answer.
Maybe we can think of something together. There has to be something we can do.
Yes, perhaps.
She looks up at me adoringly. Aw.
I feel like I can accomplish anything with you by my side.
Aw. Her loving words are nearly enough to counteract the worry that I feel.
We've already beaten death. There's no way Evelyn can stop us. At least not a second time.
First, we just have to figure out how. Abigail slips her hand into mine where it fits comfortably.
Perhaps you'll make an optimist out of me yet, Medicine. Shall we go for a walk?
Absolutely.
Cute. I'm glad that our changing relationship hasn't changed our routine. The walks around the forest keep me grounded. They're enjoyable, but also a solemn reminder of how trapped we are here. My dream of finding a way out hasn't disappeared or diminished at all. It's just evolved to include Abigail, too. There's no way I'm leaving these woods without her. We chat idly as we stroll, enjoying the newfound comfort and intimacy that comes from being lovers rather than just friends. The pain in my head is still there, and I'm sure Abigail still suffers from it as well. But it's easy enough to ignore in lieu of the pleasure that simply being together brings. We've reached the edge of the fairy clearing, where we always seem to end up. Abigail is glued to my side. I wouldn't have it any other way.
We're probably a little bit early to meet Alma, although they sometimes come by at this time. This grove is one of the easier places for the animals to come drink during winter, so it attracts all kinds of wildlife.
Yeah, I've noticed all kinds of tracks in the snow leading around here.
She nods, pleased. Uh-oh. I was gonna say, I have a bad feeling about this. But then we enter the grove itself, and my blood runs cold. Oh. Abigail and Maddie stand before a dark red bloodstain on the snow. Just ahead, lying prone on the frozen ground, is a fawn that I just know is Alma. No! It's clearly dying, if not already dead. With a shriek, Abigail drops my hand.
No!
I can feel her anguish cut through me like a knife, visceral and burning. Dashing over, hands outstretched, she falls to her knees and presses a tender hand against its snout. A small motion confirms that it's alive, if just barely. It leans into her, either in fear or in recognition, eyes wild.
No, what's happening to you?
I move closer as well, though not so close as to crowd them, and what I witness makes my stomach churn. Gaping wounds perforate the poor thing's body, staining the ground red with blood. They look like knife wounds or bite marks, but there's no visible damage or puncture. It's more like its body simply opened up. Oh, we don't like that. On a real roller coaster tonight. Abigail flails her hands, clearly wanting to help but afraid to touch it and cause it more pain. She turns to me teary-eyed.
Medicine! What do I do?
I don't know what to do. I don't even know where to start. I kneel down beside Abigail. The lacerations covering Alma's body are clean and even, but varying in size. Some are minute, so small as to be nearly invisible. The largest is a gash that runs the length of her torso.
How does this even happen?
Through choking sobs, Abigail manages to answer.
Magic! These are not normal injuries. It's the forest. The forest is sicker than I thought. And all of its children are hurting for it too.
So we get headaches, while Alma gets this. I shudder. Is it random? Could it have just as easily been one of us lying here, bleeding out? Maybe our ghostliness is more of a blessing than I thought in this case. Though without it, we wouldn't be affected by the forest illness at all. Leaning over, I gently stroke the deer's head. Its breathing is restless and agonized, but it seems to register my presence. My thumb brushes against a wound that I didn't notice, and I jerk my hand back while Alma groans in pain.
I'm sorry!
The deer's blood is viscous, unnaturally slow, and slick like motor oil. It sticks to my fingers, stretching and webbing. It's neither warm nor cold. It's unnervingly neutral. I try to rub it off in the snow, but my fingers pass through the ice and dirt, of course. My hand trembles with the disgusting feeling that it will never be clean again. Abigail is still beside herself, wringing her hands impotently. There's nothing that either of us can do. Just sit there and wait as Alma passes away in agony. But then, oh thank God, a tremor reverberates through the clearing. The ground shakes, and snow is rattled from the branches. Fairy baubles dance up and down. Abigail and I both face the forest in the direction of the sound, already knowing what's coming. The forest spirit strides into view, as tall as the trees but no taller. It brushes past trees with no notice of the branches and snow that it disturbs. As it draws into the clearing, it acknowledges us with a level gaze. It's been a while since Abigail and I have been by to see it. The deer looks up at the forest spirit with pained recognition, its eyes wide and breathing shallow with pathetic relief. Abigail looks up at it too, tearfully, clearly glad to see it. Spirit looms closer, its great presence alone seeming to revitalize the air around us. My headache vanishes in an instant. The spirit stretches out one immense finger, drawing from head to tail across the deer's mangled body. The two lock eyes, and as the spirit retracts its hand, it curls the finger inward, calling Alma to it. In one motion, the deer's eyes roll backward as life exits its body. At the same time, its spectral form, ephemeral and perfect, rises from its corpse. Boundless as in life, it gives us one last glance, and then it springs across the fallen snow before vanishing into thin air, gone to join some spectral herd somewhere. Abby wipes her eyes of tears and stands. She moves to the spirit's side and gently pats it.
Thank you. I'm glad you came.
The spirit's shoulders sag, its branches hanging low and still, despite the slight breeze. I notice what look like burn marks on its hide, where part of its wooden skin is blackened and dark. Without a doubt, that's Evelyn's doing as well. I'm reminded of an old man putting a child to rest. Sorrow and surely pain as well weigh heavily on it. I wonder how it knew to come. Did it feel Alma's pain? Or perhaps Abigail's? Bearing the emotional weight of an entire ecosystem, my heart aches for the spirit as well as for Abigail, who seems forever hurt by her powerlessness. The spirit and I meet eyes again, and I bow my head in reverence. I don't know it well enough to speak to it like Abigail, but for Alma's sake, I'm also glad it's here. It stoops down and picks up the deer's corpse. Blood now runs freely from the injuries, somehow not clotting, and I have to look away. Without a second thought for us, the spirit turns and leaves once more, going back the way it came. Abigail and I watch it go. In all, the encounter couldn't have lasted more than a minute or two. Long after the last of its footfalls have faded away, Abigail and I sit in silence. I hold her close until finally we return to the church. The rest of the day passes quietly, the earlier euphoria of our relationship being overshadowed by fear of the shifting forest. Though Abigail is never more than an arm's reach away from me, and usually closer, she's nearly silent. Our headaches return not longer after leaving the fairy clearing, stronger than rapport. Now, some combination of pain and sorrow keeps us both quiet. At some point, I reach for her hand out of habit. And that's when it happens. My hand passes right through hers as if she isn't even there. Uh-oh.
Abigail!
I say the first thing that comes to mind. With a fright, she leaps up, searching around for the source of my panic. It seems she didn't even feel it.
Look!
I reach for her hand, and once again it passes right through. Just like when we first met, before we could even speak with each other. She understands instantly.
happening? Are you okay? Do you feel any different?
I don't know enough about magic to even start to guess why this might be happening to her. Wait, is it happening to her, or to you, or both?
Should we take you to the forest spirit? Or get you some rest? Or...
Medicine, it's not me.
Yeah.
What?
It's you.
I look down at myself. Sure enough, my whole body is slightly transparent. I can see the floor of the church through myself. Vertigo hits me and I stumble. Abigail lurches forward to catch me, but of course she isn't able to. Dread fills my heart. Please no, not again.
What do I do?
I slap my hand. A pathetically ridiculous action. I can't even feel it. My own hand goes right through me. Oh, that's not good. Shaky, Abigail stands up, holding her head.
Something's happening to the forest. This must all be connected somehow. It's simply impossible otherwise.
What will Evelyn be doing?
I know that she has to be involved. I don't even have to ask.
I have no idea. Nor do I know why she's choosing now of all times to do it.
Do you think the forest spirit can help us?
The forest spirit is all I can think of. The only ally that we have. At least it's a powerful one. Abigail looks away. I'm sure the spirit was her first thought too.
Perhaps we can try.
Maybe the fairies can help? Wordlessly, she heads out of the church and I follow behind her. The happiness and joy that we shared so recently has evaporated entirely. I wish that life, whatever form it takes for us, could just slow down, that we could have more than a moment to rest. But I know that that's impossible while Evelyn is still out there. And I know that one way or another, we're going to have to be the ones to deal with her. But what I don't know is if we even have a chance. Alright.
Do you know what's going on? Has something like this happened to you before?
Sorry. Oh, what did I look like asleep with my freaked out face? I'll go a little longer. Cause now it's suspense.
It hasn't. This is the first I've seen of it. But I think I know. I think that the forest is having trouble keeping you here. The magic is getting weaker too.
So does that mean that...
I leave the implication unspoken. Abigail halts in her tracks, facing me with a fiery determination.
No, I won't let anything bad happen to you. Not again. I promise, Madison.
I forgot about my turns. That's okay. I don't know if she has the power to keep that promise, but I can only hope so.
Okay, I trust you.
I really do. Believing in Abigail is my only option, but even if it weren't, it's like she said, together we can get through anything. I try not to think of what it would mean if I'm wrong. I'm not even totally sure myself. Would I just cease to exist? Go on to an afterlife? Something else? None of the options are especially appealing, and I know that dwelling on them will only make me feel worse. So I just focus on the here and now, and on sticking close to Abigail. Even I can tell that she's right when she says the whole forest is affected. Aside from the harsh winds, everything else feels subdued somehow. The trees don't seem to stand as tall, and the leaves and needles look dull, even by wintry standards. What little sunlight there is feels dreary rather than bright. A light snow falls from the sky, but the heavy clouds overhead promise more, and soon. It occurs to me that we've been walking longer than we normally have to. Instead of changing the forest path to get us there quickly, we're following the regular route through the trees.
Hey, why aren't we taking the shortcut through the forest? Is it too sick to let us do that?
Wringing her hands, Abigail looks away.
It's more that I'm afraid to try. If I push myself too hard, then...
She leaves the consequences unspoken. I can imagine what they might be. Same as what's happening to me, or worse. Whatever exactly that is.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. It's okay. Take as much time as you need.
It's been so long since I visited the spirit. Our brief moment in the grove with Alma was the first time in days. I wonder if it's missed me.
Of course it has. Who wouldn't?
You're far too sweet, Madison.
She nuzzles her head against me. The angle is a little awkward since we're walking, but it's nice. But then she jerks away like she was stung.
Oh, you're back!
I was gonna say.
Back?
Her hand envelops mine, smooth and soft like always, rather than passing through me.
Oh!
Just because she can, she leans forward and gives me a quick peck on the lips. Well, that's good.
I was so worried.
Me too.
I rub my arm and sides, making sure that I'm all there. Everything seems to be in order. I mean,
Hopefully it's permanent.
I wouldn't stop worrying.
Indeed. It's not too much farther to the spirit either. We should hurry.
Sweat makes her brow glisten a little. She's definitely still feeling straight, even though I can tell she's trying to hide it.
Don't push yourself too hard, sweetie.
I won't.
Still, despite her words, the longer we walk, the more visible a toll it seems to take on her. Her steps slow down even though she wanted to hurry, and her breathing sounds labored.
Are you sure you're alright?
I'm fine. It's just...
Rubbing her eyes, she shakes her head. Right then, a pile of snow hits the ground a few feet away from us. Looking up, I spot a tree drooping, its boughs angled down as if bent.
It's the forest again. Not me alone.
She voices what I already knew.
Something terrible must have happened for it to be this way.
Since I'm unable to feel the forest like she can, all I can do is watch and worry.
Just now? Or at least today?
Maybe. or we may only now be feeling the effects. I'm not sure.
I can tell by the frustration in her voice that she's nearly as in the dark about all of this as I am. I have to remind myself that what she knows she only picked up by intuition and years of observation. I'm fortunate to have a guide as knowledgeable as she is about our situation, even if she doesn't know everything. I know when we're getting close to the grove of ancestral trees, from the change in the air and the way that the trees are larger than before. The profound sense of being watched and of primal energy is still present, but even that feels mellower. Or maybe strained. For everything, there's also the acrid smell of smoke. Suddenly, Abigail lets out a yelp of horror and dashes forward.
Abigail!
I follow, right on her heels.
Oh no.
It doesn't take long to discover what she found. Where once there was a mighty tree, all that remains is a blistered and charred husk, blackened by flames. Painful buzzing penetrates my head, nearly unbearable, and all I can do is watch us in horror as a foreign sorrow emanates. Even I can tell that this is the forest crying out. Here at the locus of its pain, even I'm affected. I can't imagine how Abigail must feel. Her fingers run across the damaged wood as if searching for a sign of life. I have to remember that this isn't just another part of the forest. This is its heart, its very soul. And for so long, it was also her home.
How did I not know? I've been so happy these few days that I must have blinded myself to the pain of the forest.
From behind, don't you dare! I wrap my arms around her, pressing my face against her shoulder. Sorry. My other cat came in, and he has been known to jump on my computer and turn it off.
I'm sorry. It's not your fault, though. Even if you knew, you couldn't have changed it. If anything, we were lucky to have those few days.
She clings to me, pinioning my arms into an even tighter embrace. As I feel her cry against me, my own uselessness feels like more of a curse than death ever was. I wish there was some magic word or spell that I could use to make things better. But all I can do is hug her tightly and warmly and hope that I'm as much of a reassurance for her as she is for me. Then, without warning, I once again see my arms go transparent, and the feeling of Abigail against me disappears. Although this time it's not as big of a shock, it's still a reminder that we don't have long to wait. Buddy! Abigail notices and steadies herself alone.
Let's keep going. The spirit must be around here too.
Why doesn't it stop Evelyn? Isn't that its job as guardian?
It probably can't. I'm sure it wants to, but it relies on the forest for strength. So if the forest is weak, then it must be too. In fact, that may be Evelyn's intention.
Thinking feeling in my stomach intensifies. If she's even stronger than the forest spirit, then what hope do we have? I don't voice that fear, though. I'm sure Abigail's already worried about the same thing. It isn't much longer before we encounter the spirit. At first, we almost miss it. Forest spirit stands idle in a clearing, as if lost in thought. It barely seems to notice us when we approach. A slight tilt of its head is the only acknowledgement we get. It's small, smaller than I've seen it before. It's barely as tall as I am. The lights in its eyes, usually bright and terrifying, have gone dim. It looks more like the wounded deer from the clearing the other day than the being who helped it pass on. Just like the trees it protects, its branches sag and are bare. A few have jagged ends as if something snapped them off. None of the wildlife that usually accompany it is around. Instead, it seems alone and abandoned. Though it hasn't been long since we last saw it, it looks significantly pained. I wonder if its salvation of Alma was taxing on it. Abigail cries out again, just like when we came across the burned tree. As anguished as she sounded then, this time it's even worse. I hang back as she runs to its side, not wanting to intrude on a private moment. She places a hand on its leg, crooning something that I can't make out. Though the spirit tilts its head a little bit more to face her, the motion is stilted and janky. As exhausted and sick as Abigail seems, the forest spirit seems to have it 10 times worse. It makes a mournful sound, a deep and sonorous hum. It seems to echo and reverberate off the trees around us. Though I can't understand it like Abigail can, the pain and suffering in its tone is obvious. Abigail presses a cheek against it, patting the creature gently, the same way she sometimes comforts me. I look down at myself, shimmery and transparent, and I'm pretty sure we won't be getting any assistance from the spirit. A wave of nausea hits me as I ponder just what that means. I don't have any backup plans. If Abigail does, she doesn't mention them. I mean, I can think of one thing. Is my only choice to just stay like this and hope my condition doesn't get any worse? Ever since I came here to the forest, it's felt like I haven't had any control over my own fate. And I can't help but worry this will be the final nail in the coffin, perhaps literally. I fidget, adjusting my scarf and hood and glasses countless times. Abigail remains closer to the spirit, pacing slow circles around it as she talks to it softly. I wonder what she's saying. Sometimes the spirit will hum or make a gesture that could be a nod. All the while, I keep my respectful distance. At some point, I realize that it's snowing. I don't know how long it's been going on. As some of the snow settles on the spirit's broad shoulders, it doesn't look festive or pretty. It just looks pitiful. The spirit sags, bearing the weight of the world. I'm not sure how long I wait, but I don't rush Abigail at all. This could be the last opportunity she has to speak with the forest spirit, judging by its condition. I'm sure she's thinking the same thing. I flip between solid and intangible so many times that I stop keeping track. I just watch the two of them. Finally, Abigail pulls herself away from the spirit. She approaches me, looking like she wants to say something, but doesn't. Her eyes say it all, though. I try to hug her, but she softly shakes her head, and instead escorts me away, back into the woods. Though she never looks back, I do, but just once. The spirit's lonely eyes watch us go. Heavy snow batters us while we walk. Though of course its chill doesn't reach us, our visibility is effectively zero. Too weak to even alter the path of the forest, Abigail clings to my side, trusting me to lead us back to the church. Though I maintain a brave face, I'm not fully confident in my ability to get us there. Blizzard calls to mind memories of the day I died, although I don't let myself dwell on them. I'm not alone this time, and I have someone more to live for. The longer this scene is, if it doesn't end by 10, I probably have to wrap up. Our journey is strenuous. We move at a glacial pace, but it's the fastest that Abigail can manage. Her steps are heavy and slow, and as much as I want to urge her along, I know that I can't. I'm glad that she's watching the ground and her feet rather than me, so she doesn't have to see the worry on my face. Every time I start to think that I've got this whole ghost thing figured out, something new arises to complicate it all over again. And this time I don't even have Abigail's experience to guide me. What happens if she loses the ability to walk altogether? Or to speak? What happens if the magic that keeps me here runs out? The occasional flickering of my body makes that a very real concern right now. I hold tightly to her hand, the only anchor of comfort and security right now. But even that has grown clammy and cold. Swallowing a lump in my throat, we march on. Trees bow in the wind, trying to turn their backs against it. For the first time that I can remember, there aren't any woodland creatures out and about. No mice or rabbits or chirping birds. Not even a panicked deer, phasing in and out of existence like me. It may as well just be me and her and no one else in the universe.
Come on, I'm sure we're almost there. It can't be much further.
say the words for my own sake as much as for hers, though in truth I have no idea if I'm right or not. For all I know, we could be heading in the totally opposite direction of the church. Even then, once we arrive at the church, I'm not sure what to do. Will she get better with time to rest? Will I? Right now, the church is just a goal. It gives us something tangible to work towards. Something to keep our feet moving, slowly or not.
I'm sure you're right.
Her voice is barely a murmur. I can only hope that she's saving her energy on purpose. I'm afraid to ask. I wonder how much of what's happening is by the mayor's design. While everything stems from her, it's impossible to know how much was deliberate and how much was simply a ripple effect from what she's done. I wonder if she even considers us a threat, or gives any thought at all. If she doesn't, then maybe we can use that against her. Of course, first we have to reach a point where we can do that. During a momentary lapse in the blizzard, I'm able to make out a welcome sight in the haze. A warped and curled tree that I distinctly remember from an earlier trip.
Look, you recognize that tree too, right? I'm pretty sure you were the one who showed it to me the first time. We're almost home.
Abigail nods weakly, though she doesn't say anything. I squeeze her hand, trying to impart some strength into her. It kills me to see her like this, and I'd give anything to be able to help her.
Almost there, you've got this.
She nods again, unable to do or say more. Except she doesn't stop nodding like a bobblehead. I tug her along, trying to lead her the rest of the short way, but she's rooted to the spot. And then she collapses, and the world goes black. What? I jolt and choke on nothing as I gasp for breath that I don't actually need. Abigail has fallen to her knees. I didn't even feel her hand slip out of mine. I tried to whoa! I couldn't even read that. I try to take the next half step, cross the few centimeters that separate us, but a moment later it's black. It takes me a moment to understand, and I immediately wish that I hadn't. Oh my god, I just stopped existing for a second. Yeah, that was jarring and I didn't like it. Profound dread grips my heart. Looking down at myself once again, I can see right through my hand and arm to the snow accumulating beneath us. Not good. This is extremely not good. I collapse to the ground beside Abigail, but at least of my own accord. I try to shake her by the shoulder, but it takes several times before I can maintain a form long enough to even touch her.
I'm sorry, Medicine. I just need a little break.
With visible effort, she tries to look at me. I don't think she even realizes what's happening. But then I phase into non-existence for another moment, and when I come back, horror is clearly etched onto her face. Finding some hidden reserve of strength, she lunges towards me and grabs my hand. Immediately, everything goes back to normal.
Madison, are you okay? Can you hear me?
I'm fine now.
I hold her hands a bit tighter to reaffirm it.
Are you okay though?
I'm just a little tired is all.
She forces herself up again, looking more than a little tired. Immediately, she sways and nearly falls, but I catch and steady her. She leans into me and I pull her into a hug.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Gently, I stroke her hair. In truth, I'm terrified, but I don't want her to see that. It would only make things worse. I guide Abigail over to a fallen tree where we can sit down, indifferent to the blizzard. Even though the church isn't much further, I don't want to push her too much right now. I wrap one arm around her as we sit, and I hold her close.
Where can we go for help? Maybe if the forest spirit sees how rough it is for us.
But she shakes her head.
Believe me, it would if it could. But I fear that it's even weaker than I am right now. It's much more in tune with the forest than me, so it's suffering the effects even more strongly.
All of this because Evelyn killed one tree?
It wasn't just any tree. It was one of the ancestral trees. The oldest one. They're the heart of the forest. All of its strength comes from them.
I can't pretend to understand their importance, but I know that Abigail isn't exaggerating. Not at a time like this.
So what do? There has to be some sort of solution, right? Can we plant another tree or something?
Even as I say it, I know the idea is ridiculous. We don't exactly have the centuries it would take for a new tree to grow up as big and strong as the one that was killed.
The forest spirit is supposed to become the next one. All of the ancestral trees were once spirits like the one you've met.
What's stopping it? The mayor?
Her hand clenches around my shoulder where she was holding on tightly.
That's right. I hadn't even realized.
Realized what?
Groaning, Abigail sits up straight. So long as we're close like this, it seems like I'm able to maintain my physical form.
This spirit can't pass on its own. It needs the help of a fairy queen. That's one of her duties to the forest.
Yeah, I figured that was where we were going.
There's no fairy queen right now.
Yes, which means that there's no one to complete the ritual.
The rest goes unspoken as we both come to the same realization. An awful one.
Madison.
I know. There aren't any other options, are there?
None that I know of.
I close my eyes and take a deep breath, heading off the wave of fear that I know is coming.
I'm sorry, again.
It's okay. You don't need to apologize. Really.
But...
Taking both her hands in my own, I turn to face her. Understanding, her eyes close halfway as her lips part to meet mine. Part of me wishes I could spend an eternity like this, together, warm, with the woman I love. But even that isn't an option anymore. Our kiss ends far too quickly, although I'm not sure it could have ever been enough. When we part, there are tears on Abigail's face. I'm not sure if they're mine or hers.
It'll be okay somehow. I know it.
I'll be with you, no matter what.
I know. Thank you. Seriously. I couldn't do this without you.
I love you.
I love you too.
As when we turn and face the forest again, putting the church behind us. Resigning myself to what comes next, I point in the direction we need to go.
Let's go visit the fairies. I'm sure they're still looking for a new queen.
Yeah, I knew it! Wah wah wah! Alright. We're gonna save here. Coordination, not ominous at all. Although, you know, from the chapter image, I did suspect we were going somewhere like that. Okay. It's a little late for me, so I'm gonna wrap up. But thanks so much for joining me. I'll probably be back tomorrow. Yeah, it feels like a better place to stop. I'm hoping to maybe do an Annie List stream tomorrow if I can finish my work fast enough. Let's see.
Hey, record game.
Oh, sorry. I was just checking out who is live. I guess we'll raid Cece? I don't know if I've... maybe once before? I think I have once. She's also playing what looks like a visual novel of some kind, so... I probably won't be able to hang out for long, because I'm gonna get ready for bed. But I'm gonna start the raid. And hopefully I'll see you all tomorrow. Here's the raid message. I remembered for once. And yeah. Thank you again. I'm uploading the VODs on YouTube now, so you'll be able to catch up if you miss anything. See you tomorrow, and if I don't, have a great weekend. Oats and melon!